Fascinating. I just thought they would be a better pool. I thought they'd be more of attraction, and maybe not even to the SEC as much as the Big Ten, because I feel like the Big Ten might need a Florida State, might need a Clemson. But this is fascinating. It really, really does surprise me.
Yeah, it is. Welcome to Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. We are live today at the Ingalls in Easley as the skies right behind us. You guys can't see it because we have this beautiful banner right behind us.
They might hear it, though.
The skies have just opened up. Yeah, you might be able to hear what's going on outside. We have your chance to win a $25 Ingalls gift card coming up on the show. We'll be giving you your first clue and your chance to win that $25 Ingalls gift card. If you think you know the item that is available inside of every Ingalls market, come on by, and you can win.
And big shout out to Shane, the general manager here, for hooking us up. Sandwiches, donuts, sweet tea. Like, are we trying to get diabetes today?
There's a good chance, Cole, that by the end of this hour, I might have a second donut because they are delicious.
I'm trying to eat good, but screw that. You bring donuts over here and forget the diet, right?
Don't fight happiness.
That's what I say.
Calories eaten out of happiness and joy don't count at all. They're fat-free. If you didn't know that, yeah.
Every time I ever start a diet or try to lose weight, I think, you know what? Everybody's going to end up in a grave regardless of if you're skinny or fat and happy. And I know that's a terrible mantra to live by.
So there's no such thing as skinny and happy in your mind?
No. Have you ever been
doesn't exist.
Have you ever been skinny and happy? I've never been on a diet and been happy. So
I don't know. Richard Simmons seemed pretty happy by the end of his life. He was skinny.
I'm going to eat another donut. I can go ahead and tell you. A big shout out to Shane here at Ingalls and Easley.
Yeah, this is what some of the officials from across the SEC and Big Ten were saying. Now, they identified who said what out of which conference. A lot of the Big Ten guys seem much more willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
Maybe the SEC guys were like, yeah, no, please don't identify what conference we're in. And you know, now that we're living in conspiracy-laden times, you could say, oh, well, their unwillingness to even put their conference affiliation on this may mean that there is actually something there to begin with. I mean, because how many times do we see conference realignment conversations start by the members of that conference, the commissioners of that conference, and representatives saying, we have no interest whatsoever. We're happy with where we are. We love our membership. We love our footprint. We're not interested in expanding right now. And then what happens? They expand. Yep. So I want Clemson and the Florida State fans who are in our audience to listen to what Big Ten officials are saying about you. Quote, why would anyone want to expedite more chaos by adding Florida State? Boom. Called you out by name.
That's all that.
They put that name in their mouths, and they're saying right there, Florida State is chaos. We bring Florida State into this conference, and they're going to cause problems, right? They're going to cause problems.
Yeah, and I don't, for whatever reason, the public, we don't look at it that way. I don't know why Florida State joining the conference would add chaos, but the sources that Brett McMurphy talked to, what they said is extremely fascinating, Diesel. I tell you what I saw was where one of the sources said if the ACC blows up, who picks first, who picks second?
Correct.
If there's a need and a desire to expand, you take the inventory so your competitors don't get it. But the presidents and chancellors are looking for stability. So it seems as if the conferences right now care more about stability with who they have, even though the SEC just added Texas and Oklahoma.
I was just about to say that.
What the heck?
Isn't it fascinating that we have just gone through a record stage of instability with these conferences? The common belief is that we're headed towards super leagues, possibly 3 super leagues of 20 each, but they're all saying, whoa, pump the brakes. We got to add some stability here. We got to take some time to think about what it is that we're doing. Add to that, Cole, the rumors that are coming out of Greg Swaim, host of the Greg Swaim Show. He is the one driving a lot of these rumors about Clemson and Florida State potentially having interest with the Big 12. He's saying that the Big 12 is interested in adding Florida State and Clemson if there's a long-term commitment.
Correct.
What exactly does a long-term commitment to the Big 12 mean? And I question, Cole, what does that do for you different than what the ACC is doing for you? Certainly, you're stuck in a long-term deal with the ACC that is not advantageous to your bottom line. The ACC has absolutely failed its members in keeping up with the SEC and the Big Ten revenue-wise. And now they're falling drastically behind what's going on with the Big 12. And who knows, maybe they're seeing what the Big 12 is doing and they're starting to shop their name around the same way that the Big 12 did. They're just not talking about it as loudly and publicly as the Big 12 is.
I would love to talk to Melissa on air about this later as well, being a Florida State fan.
Yep.
But you know what's crazy? If you are a Florida State fan here in the upstate or in general, and you hear that the ACC, if they would no longer exist, Diesel, and there's a mass exodus, you hear sources say things like North Carolina and Virginia would be highly sought after by the SEC and Big Ten, but Florida State wouldn't.
That's gotta hurt.
They don't want you.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they want Tony Elliott in Virginia, who just plain stink. They want North Carolina, who's never been relevant from the national college footballs. I mean, this is crazy to me.
Yeah, another Big Ten official. So the one Big Ten official said, why would anyone want to expedite more chaos by adding Florida State? Another one said, quote, there is no appetite among the presidents unless there is some catastrophic development with the ACC and it forces the Big Ten into a decision. So there you go. They're basically saying until this whole thing blows up whole hog, we're not touching you. We're not touching any of your members.
They don't trust them.
Right. Exactly.
And, with the former ACC commissioner, John Swofford, and the rigging, I put that in air quotes, of the television rights to help, his son filing a suit to expose ESPN's TV deals. Florida State, for whatever reason, all of those included, they have a big black eye, and nobody wants to touch them with a 10-foot pole, and that's so crazy to me.
Florida State believed that airing the dirty laundry, going nuclear, would be the easiest way for them to get out. And then all of a sudden, hey, guys, we're Florida State. We're the prettiest girl in town. Take us out on a date. Turns out to not really be the case. Another Big Ten official said, quote, if there's a need and desire to expand, you take inventory so your competitors don't.
Yeah.
But don't get it, but that no one is driving expansion right now, i.e. no one inside of these conferences, be it the ADs, the commissioner, the television rights partners, nobody is pushing for this right now.
They better go ahead and call the Big 12.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida State better call the Big 12
any port in the storm, right?
Well, listen, Utah and Arizona State, they didn't want to join the Big 12. But what happened? The Pac-12 crumbled, and Utah and Arizona State were like, hey, here we are.
Could you imagine a world, like you just said, where Clemson and Florida State, who are – it's not even an argument. They are the two most valuable media properties in the ACC, end up begging for entry somewhere. Please let us in. We'll take half. We'll take 25% for 5 years or 10 years or whatever it may be. Please just let us in. Please throw us a life jacket, please. Another Big Ten official said, what is the upside of Florida State? We got what we needed by adding USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon at 50 cents on the dollar. Who would Florida State help? At what cost? And who's going to pay for it?
You know what?
There's no financial incentive to adding those teams right now.
The more and more I hear all of this about the ACC and the SEC and the Big Ten, Big 12, the more and more, and listen, I was never this way until recently, but the more and more I just want to blow it all up. Screw every conference. Let's just get rid of all of them.
It's gone down such a petty path, hasn't it? Over the past 5 years, it's gone down such a petty path. And this shows that we've had a massive need for a college football commissioner. This is what happens when you've got 5 power conferences. Previously, you had 5 power conferences and 5 group of 5 conferences all looking out for themselves. No one is making sure that things stay relatively equitable or relatively calm and stable. They are allowing these conferences to pick each other apart, and nobody's stopping this. I mean, do you think, what were the big dominoes that really started this whole thing? It was the rumors that Texas and Oklahoma might be heading towards the Pac-12. This was 10 years ago. It seemed absurd at the time that 2 of the biggest members of a conference would just up and leave for marginally more money. Now, obviously that didn't happen, but of course that kicked off just this era, this decade of, well, what if? What if we could tinker? What if we could do this? How much more could we get from our TV partners?
One of the best,
and they're willing to pay for it.
One of the best responses to Brett McMurphy's tweet was, FSU is that guy who has an affair and then files for divorce, drags his ex through the mud to try to avoid giving up half the assets. And after years of litigation, he's broke and wonders why no one wants to marry him.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate, you know?
That's true. That's true. Florida
that's
State
where we
thought that dropping a bomb on this thing would get them out of it, and then they would still be attractive after the fact. It's like you can't do the ugly thing and then still have people think you're pretty afterwards. It doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, here's my warning to Clemson fans, to Florida State fans especially. I wouldn't inflate that personal opinion of yourselves quite as much, because here's television partners, here's ADs and commissioners and officials saying, we don't want you.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I was a Florida State fan, I'd be upset about it. Like everybody else that leaves the conference says, oh, it's okay. You want to come on, leave. And then Florida State wants to leave. It's like, nope, screw you. Yeah. Shut it down. You're not going anywhere. That's what's fascinating.
This is proof right here and right now. This is advice to every single one of you. Read the contract before you sign it. Think about it long and hard. Read the deal. Now, I know there are times where Clemson and Florida State got outvoted by other members of the conference, specifically with the additions of those Pac-12 schools that were just looking for somewhere to go. They got outvoted. They didn't want those schools. They didn't want to expand this thing coast to coast. They just got outvoted. And I guess, that was probably the last straw for Clemson and Florida State officials, saying, okay, we are outnumbered here. We're the biggest dogs in this conference, and you guys don't respect us. You're not putting any respect on our name.
Put the respect. Trey Davis says, I'd take North Carolina on the stream, by the way, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Trey says, I'd take North Carolina if I were the SEC. It's an actual southeastern state. Virginia is a borderline, but closer than some members. Yeah, but what does geography even matter?
Doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, here's my biggest hope, Cole, is as we've seen the Big Ten stretch coast to coast, we're seeing the Big 12 well, they were already stretching coast to coast. You've got the ACC spreading coast to coast. You got Conference USA spreading half the country. That one day as a commissioner does come into this league, they just fix everything, Yeah. It's like the movie Idiocracy. It feels like we're living in the movie Idiocracy in real life and in college football. We got this guy not sure. He's going to come in and fix everything. That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know that we're going to get it. Trey, you're not wrong there. North Carolina in the SEC makes a heck of a lot of sense. They're a decent football program who, let's be real, would suck in the SEC. They would be getting that ass kicked week in and week out, and they would be virtual locks for wins for a lot of these teams. You can't keep adding 10-win teams from all these other conferences and then everybody keep winning 10 games every year.
Who'd be worse?
The math doesn't math that way. Oh, God.
I mean, really?
Vandy. No, it's Vandy.
You think North Carolina beat Vandy?
I think North Carolina would probably be more akin to maybe a Mississippi State.
Okay.
An Ole Miss.
I don't know. They had Dak.
An Ole Miss pre-Lane Kiffin, that program that can be okay every now and again, but they're not right. They're not built that way, right? But hey, you got to add some wins, right? The world needs ditch diggers too, as Judge Smales once said. You got to have those teams that you can beat up on and win sometimes. So the other teams don't get fan bases don't get upset because they're not winning any games anymore.
It's nuts, man. I'm so over these conference realignments and
no,
lawsuits.
I love it. I think it's fascinating. It's so dirty.
I just want somebody to. Here's why I don't like it. I want somebody to go in and fix it. That's why I don't like it. Obviously, it gives us great content, but my God, how hard is it to go in and fix something? Every commissioner, let's get together, let's do what makes sense, and let's fix it. If I had, I don't know if you can do this in the EA 25 video game, but if you have it out there and you're a Tolo and you already have played it, let me know. If you can make your own conferences, I'll buy the game and make my own conferences just so I can show what it should be in real life.
Can I come over to your house and play?
Yeah, if I buy it, I'll put it at the station. But
right.
I just, it's $600. Is that what you're telling me for an Xbox? So
it's $500 for the console, another $75 for the game. Who knows? But $30 a month just to play online. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. Texter says 470. What's the old saying? If it's not broke, don't fix it. So a lot of good conversation there. You can text the show as well as we are live as the sun is starting to make its way out. We're live at Pelzer Highway in Easley at Ingalls. We love Ingalls. We hope you do as well. If you are in the Easley area listening on the Odyssey app or 97.7 FM, come by, and we will have some clues for you in a little while. And you can win a $25 Ingalls gift card if you can get the clues correct. Come hang out with us for a little while. We have one or two sandwiches. I mean, come on, look at the sandwich tray that Shane hooked us up with here at Ingalls.
We hook you up with a turkey sandwich.
Yeah. You
just for coming out.
You come in empty-handed, you leave with a turkey sandwich in your hand. What's better than that?
On a croissant, too. It's not just on white bread. It's on a croissant.
Yeah,
it's on the good stuff.
Croissants are better than regular bread.
That's true.
All right, coming up in the very next segment, I need some last-minute advice. You and I both do, Diesel, 19 days away from something. I have not told the Tolos, the listeners, what we're 19 days away from yet. However, we need the best advice possible as we get closer and closer because these 19 days are going to fly by very soon. We'll tell you what advice we need next. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. This is the Fan Upstate.
that 844-FAN phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago, and I'll be out of the country here in a few days. Diesel will be on vacation mid-August, so we had to settle on a week to give our official predictions. 19 days from now will be August the 5th. It will be the best week and probably one of the last chances for us to really sit down, take our shoes off, get comfortable, and figure out just exactly what we're going to do when it comes to the official predictions for South Carolina and for Clemson in 2024. So I ask you the question, you the Tolos, 71307. Start your text with the word fan. We're also live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. What advice, what last-minute advice would you give as Diesel and I over these 19 days start to navigate and put check marks or an X rather or a W or a loss on each of these games? Because I do want to take my time in doing this, but what advice would you give us? What should you caution us with as we start to nail down the official predictions for the 2024 South Carolina and Clemson schedule? Diesel, you want to start with the Tigers or the Gamecocks?
Let's go with the Tigers first. Winners go first. How about that?
I'm going to pull up the schedule. So as the Tolos send in, what I'm asking for, what I'm looking for is, hey, don't forget about this. Maybe think about this. Maybe consider this when going through the Clemson schedule, when going through the South Carolina schedule, right? That's what we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think we should consider, because we're going to have our official predictions in about 19 days. And you know what? I think Diesel is drastically different for both South Carolina and Clemson. However, I think there's a lot more what-ifs when you look at the Clemson schedule this year. I really do. I think there's a lot of what-ifs more than people realize.
So you're saying that it's pretty known what's going to happen to South Carolina through the majority of their schedule?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that why?
Maybe I am saying that.
There's a lot of knowns, but they're not necessarily things that you're going to like.
Well, maybe that's so.
Yeah. With Clemson, first of all, it's brutal to have a bye week that early in the season.
Let me see. When is it?
Week 3. Week 3, they have a bye. Georgia, App State, bye week. And then they've got 5 straight games, a bye week, and 5 more to end the season. I think it's tough for fans, right? Like you're just getting into this, right? You're just, you're finding all that last gear that you didn't find to take out to the tailgate last week. And so you're like, oh, there it is. Yeah, it's buried in the back. I got it. Oh, we don't have a game this week.
Yeah,
that stinks.
I didn't realize that.
It is easy, Cole. And there's always somebody, I don't know who it is. There's always somebody who gets saddled with a bye week in week 1. And so they have to wait a whole other week past everybody else to watch their team play. I mean, is that just the saddest thing or what? But it is easy for you and I to form opinions about what we think these teams are and kind of get stuck in that mindset and miss very important things, right? Miss very important upgrades at this position, at that position. And that's what we're trying to find out here.
So I'll go first. With I'll consider this. What if we haven't put enough emphasis for Clemson in 2024 on just how impactful Phil Maffa will be for the offense, just how much that will take a weight off of the shoulders of Cade Klubnik, just how much Clemson will be able to dominate time of possession, right? Going against good opponents. There's not many, but still, in general, if that run game, let's say, for example, you say, okay, you consider the possibility of Phil Maffa having a breakout year. I don't want to say a C.J. Spiller or James Davis type year, but let's say he just has a sensational Heisman type year. Well, if Phil Maffa is that guy, Diesel, there's a very good chance that the narrative in the Georgia game could be a lot different coming out of that game rather than what we've talked about a million times, what pundits have said already this week with Georgia Clemson Most people think Georgia is going to have their way that night, or that day, rather, as it's a noon game. But what if you said, okay, if I tell you that Phil Maffa is going to come out and be the best running back in the ACC, a game-changer running back, could that change the perspective and narrative? Even if Clemson were to lose the game against Georgia, Phil Maffa being that guy might allow that game to be a lot more close and respectable than people think.
Well, now that Phil Maffa, we learned what Phil Maffa was throughout the majority of last season. Obviously, he didn't get a ton of snaps early on, and it took a couple of weeks before he finally did. And then Clemson fans started coming around saying, oh, wow, Phil Maffa's really, really good. We should be giving him the ball more, right? Yeah. So it did take Dabo Swinney a little bit of time to figure that out and figure, hey, maybe I should feature Phil Maffa some more. And I think if Phil Maffa stays healthy, he could have just a massive breakout season this year. And not necessarily Heisman contender, but certainly close in the conversation in the top 15 or so. I mean, and I say not a Heisman contender just because we know most running backs aren't Heisman contenders. This award has turned into a quarterback award.
You got to be stout to be a running back.
You got to have just ridiculous numbers. And, hey, he's playing in the ACC, so who knows? Maybe he does have ridiculous numbers that put him in a position maybe to be featured in that conversation.
And Derrick Henry was the last running back to win a Heisman. So you got to be Derrick Henry-like.
Yeah.
I mean, that you know what I'm saying?
Consider this, Cole. Consider if Clemson's wide receiver room stays healthy and comes together. Tyler Brown, excellent last year as a freshman. He's now a sophomore. Antonio Williams is back. Adam Randall Jr. If those three guys can be elite wide receivers for Cade Klubnik, who has shown to have decent arm talent, just not the best decision-making guy. If he now knows and he can now trust his wide receiver room as being good no matter where I go, then I think, there's another opportunity for Clemson to take a step forward offensively.
That would be something that they're definitely going to have to rely on, because those three that you mentioned, they're going to have to be the catalyst. One more before we get to the comments, on the stream. Something that I heard yesterday at Clemson Media Day. Last year, Clemson comes out of the gate and goes to Duke. And we all remember what happened, right? We all remember what happened at that night game where Clemson just laid a big, fat egg. And that started the entire roller coaster year for Clemson, right? I heard a lot of people talking about how later on in the year, players came out and admitted that they were not in game shape. They were not ready for that Duke game. I'll go flip-flop from the positive. I'll reverse the positive. For whatever reason, I put that on the coaching staff. If the coaching staff doesn't have this team in game shape again this year, and we've laid out the positives, and we're going to get to your comments as well. But if they come out the same as they did against Duke, and in 2024, on August 31st, they stroll down 85 and wake up really early because they have a noon game, and they're not in game shape, and Maffa really can't get going, and maybe he's just not in that, 15, 20 carries a game shape yet, and Klubnik struggling to find guys and get guys going. What will the narrative be if it's 34 to 7 at the half? I mean, people are going to tune in because it's the biggest game of the year. But if you get, and I said this morning with Rob Brown, if you get railroaded by Georgia, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, all of a sudden, the rest of the season means nothing.
Right.
Because I don't care if you go beat Wake Forest and Virginia. What good's that going to do? If you can't show that you're competitive against Georgia, I've seen enough, and that's a concern.
In your mind, what's the very minimum, or rephrase that, what's the maximum Clemson could lose by against Georgia and still have it look respectable in your eyes? I mean, is 21 points a respectable loss to Georgia?
No.
I don't think it is. Is 17 points a respectable loss to Georgia? That's 2 touchdowns and a
field
goal,
maybe.
Maybe depending on the exact circumstances of how how that 17-point differential was achieved. I think if you're Clemson, you got to keep this within 2 touchdowns.
I agree.
Or the narrative will continue that Dabo Swinney has lost it, that Dabo Swinney can't recruit anymore, that Dabo Swinney's method doesn't work anymore. It will continue to get louder and louder and louder.
Texter from the 470 says, if Clemson comes out flat against Georgia, big questions start coming about Dabo. On the stream, Brian Pettit says, what about injuries to players at quarterbacks? Well, look at the backup situation.
Here's what I find really interesting. I just looked this up. This is far from official, okay? It's not official. It just came from OurLads.com. I looked up Clemson's perspective depth chart for this year. Guess who's not QB2 this year?
Trent Pierman.
Well, Christopher Vezina is not QB2. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
Trent Pierman is now listed ahead of Christopher Vezina on the depth chart.
And you know, I think that depth chart's probably again, it's a depth chart. I think that'll change.
Sure.
I think it will. I think Vezina will be by the August 31st game. It's interesting, though, if you lose Lenore Sellers and you lose Cade Klubnik, who do you trust more, right? Do you trust Vezina and Pierman? I think Trent Pierman, obviously, you know, he has upside that a lot of Clemson fans would like to see. South Carolina. Whew.
Well, if you lose Cade Klubnik to injury, does Dabo Swinney now feel like this is prove it mode for everybody on this roster? Trent Pierman, give him a couple of games. Christopher Vezina, give him a couple of games. Trade them out here and there throughout the games.
Yeah, they'd both
and see who kind of plays best in different scenarios.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, I think with Cade going down, you now have a massive question at quarterback. You do not have your QB2 really figured out.
I'll say this. South Carolina might be in better shape if they lose their quarterback. Robbie Ashford, the Auburn transfer, I think there's upside there. I think there's potential there. And is he Lenore Sellers? I don't know, but Robbie Ashford's not a bad quarterback. And, I think that, I think if Lenore's did go down, I think you could plug Robbie Ashford in. I really do. Would he be the same? No, I'm not saying that, but I think you might could plug him in.
Coming up in the next 5 or 6 minutes, Cole, we're going to give you clue number 1 and your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card here. Clue number 1 coming your way in the next 5 minutes.
Real quick, getting to a few more of these comments. 754 says, I feel like everyone is looking past Clemson's veteran offensive line and the fact that they have very well-respected coach coaching them now. They're going, let me click on the text, they're going to be the game changer this year and will be the reason Caden Maffa are successful, says a texter from the 754. Good text there. I like that. They should be, the veteran group. Let's see. A lot of messages on the stream. Anything that deserves being on air. T-Swizzle, Madcraft, they're chiming up. They're chopping it up on the stream. You can do so there as well. JD and Trey in there.
T-Swizzle is a Clemson fan. He's got Clemson players in his little profile picture there. He says Clemson will have to play a near-perfect game on both sides of the ball to have a chance.
Yeah.
Which isn't impossible. He says, I think Clemson's defense is going to be fine. I
do too.
I don't believe Georgia is going to go out there and score 48 points on Clemson. However, Georgia scores a lot of points against a lot of teams, even in the SEC, with almost as good a defense as Clemson has.
Listen, the bottom line is Clemson's defense is good, but people so often forget, and we're going to run because I know we have to hit a break. People so often forget that football is a game of matchups. I mean, it's plain and simple, man. I've seen good defenses get shredded, and I've seen really bad defenses look really good. It's about matchups. How do they match up against the Georgia offense? If they match up well as we get closer and closer, if we feel like they match up well, then they may be able to hold their own. But that's going to be the issue there. I'm excited to see. I cannot wait for August 31st. I think you and I are going to be there, Diesel.
Hopefully so.
Hopefully so. Fingers crossed if the creek don't rise. But it's going to be a lot of fun.
We need the credential gods to come through for us.
Yeah, and I think they will. Also, there was an email just sent, Diesel. I don't know if you saw it, about 10 minutes ago from Jay Wilson with some Ingles trivia. I know you needed to get to that. Better late than ever, right?
Yeah, I hadn't seen that
Thanks,
email.
Jay. Here you go. Here you go.
So hang on a second.
Here you go. I got it for you.
We're gonna have to pivot and change. No, Jay Wilson didn't send that email to me. So we're gonna just forget Jay Wilson's clues, and we're gonna go with our clues. Okay, we're gonna substitute our own clues, our own product. Here we go. Clue number 1. This is a product available inside every single Ingles market. You buy one container, and you get a bunch of them. You buy one container of this product, and you get a bunch of them. If you think you know what product we're talking about, you can message it in to us. We'll tell you. We won't tell you if you're right. You can message us in on the stream and text in. We can't tell you over the air if you're right, but you can come down here, and if you think you know the answer to the product, you can win a $25 Ingles gift card.
All right, what do we have coming up next?
When we come back, Nick Saban had some big things to say about about playoff expansion.
Playoff?
Dabo Sweeney had some thoughts about playoff expansion. We talked about that yesterday, and Paul Finebaum has ripped him for it. That's next on the Fan Upstate.
with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan.
SEC Media Days still going on in Dallas today, mark day number 3 of SEC Media Day. Nick Saban, of course, has been all over it. He did get to watch his replacement get on stage and give his speech. Kalen DeBoer said of coaching south of Illinois for the first time in his career, I sweat a lot more because it's hot in Alabama. He's not wrong. He's not wrong about that. But Nick Saban, of course, like we said, has been all over this, all over the television coverage of the event. And he was asked by Ross Dellinger about playoff expansion. Now that he's not ahead of a program, he is now sitting and watching things from the outside as an analyst. He was asked about expansion of the playoff, and he told Ross Dellinger, quote, "Remember the history through the years? I started out not being a proponent of the playoff beyond 2. By the way, Cole, could you throw me a Nick Saban all right in this, like when I take a pause?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a I?
Yeah, just all right.
Is that what he's known for?
Yeah.
All right.
I started out not being a proponent of a playoff beyond 2.
All right.
The reason was, at the time, bowl games were a significant part of college traditions and one of the things that made college unique.
All right.
As soon as we went to a 4-team playoff, bowl games started to lose their significance.
All right.
Players didn't want to play in bowl games.
All right.
You had opt-outs. Stands weren't as full. TV ratings weren't as good.
All right.
The playoff is better than bowl games.
All right.
That's why I've changed through the years and adapted through the whole circumstance of why we should have a bigger playoff.
All right.
Nick Saban is a fan of an expanded – well, that too. Yeah, he's a fan of playoff expansion because he has seen the bowl games lose their significance. And I think bowl games lose their significance to people and programs who have been going to bowl games for decades and decades. It's still really fascinating for me as a fan of a team that just got into the bowl subdivision a decade ago. Bowl games are still absolutely fascinating to me. But compare Nick Saban's stance saying that we need to keep expanding the playoff because bowl games don't matter anymore. And he said, I paraphrased and shortened down what he had to say there. But he talked about, players choosing to sit out, not doing these bowl games anymore because they don't mean as much to them. Compare that to what Dabo Swinney had to say. We had his quote yesterday on the show talking about the expanded playoff, where he says you're going to start seeing guys opt out once the team is 4-4. They're going to say there's no hope to make the college football playoff this season. I'm going to go ahead and go to Arizona. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start getting ready for the draft.
And I think Dabo and Nick are probably in agreement on the playoff expansion killing bowl. If you sat them both down and talked about it, I would argue, I would bet that they'd both agree that the bowl games are pretty much done for.
Well, Nick wants expansion. Dabo wants to go back to 2. Two teams. He essentially wants to go back to the BCS. That's the quote that we had yesterday.
Well, I don't think he said he wanted.
He didn't say go back to the BCS, but he said shrinking the playoff back down to 2 is the way to go.
Here's the deal. Here's the way I look at it. Bowl games players are sitting out in bowl games regardless. What are we playing for here? Are we playing for championships or are we playing for bowl games? I'm not, now that we have the playoff, I'm not a bowl game guy. I think it just, they've lost so much luster. And yeah, before the playoff, they were cool. They were fun. You get to go to Jacksonville, but now that the playoffs are here, they're a meaningless game. And I don't believe in momentum carrying over an entire calendar year. I know a lot of people, like somebody asked yesterday, Dabo, about the momentum from the Kentucky game. And I don't believe in that. I don't believe momentum carries 9 months. I just don't. So, I say at this point, what is the purpose of them?
Well, the big issue, Cole, is, bowl games aren't going anywhere because sponsors are still willing to sponsor them, right? So as long as the checks are still being written and as long as they still clear, the NCAA is happy to put its member institutions in bowl games. Athletic directors and coaches are happy to put their players into another bowl game so long as they're getting a little scratch off the deal. But ultimately, Cole, ratings don't matter. Ratings don't matter to the bowls. They're inventory in a time of the year where there's not a lot of other sports going on. So they want every game they can possibly put on television. If bad ratings meant they were going to kill off a bowl, the Bahamas Bowl would have gone away a long time ago, right? Nobody watches that bowl. Nobody goes to that bowl. It's in a weird location. Nobody's flying out there to it except for family of the players. So that's one that you could easily kill off. There's a dozen more that you could easily kill off. But Cole, I wonder, there's a lot of fans who don't want college football playoff expansion, but they also say the bowls are meaningless. So are you fine with your team not having a game to play after that?
I am.
Okay.
What's the purpose of it?
So Dabo had his statements that we read on the show yesterday. Paul Finebaum today on TV from SEC Media Days had this to say about the head Tiger in charge.
Dabo, that is just plain dumb. What happened to you? You used to be a voice of reason in college football, and now you're the get off my lawn guy. Everybody knows what we're doing here. Everybody understands this is essentially the NFL playoffs, and of course there's unintended consequences. That is not breaking news, Dabo. Your goal isn't to find problems with this system. Your goal is to get back in the playoffs, someplace you haven't been in a while.
Maybe Dabo is angling when he gets out of the sport, when he gets out of coaching, the profession of it, he's angling to be that czar. Nick Saban was asked if he was interested in being a czar of college football, and he said, well, you're going to have to ask Miss Terry.
Yeah,
maybe Dabo is interested in that. Maybe he thinks that he could right the wrongs. But as of right now, the system is the system, and you got to go out and win within the system.
Well, the only thing I'd push back on Paul is, I agree with what Paul said about getting in the playoffs, but here's where I push back on Paul Finebaum. Dabo was asked a question. He was literally asked about guys sitting out. So what are you supposed to do? No, I'm not concerned about guys sitting out. I'm not concerned. He was literally asked about it. David Hell asked the question so he could write the article. Paul Finebaum getting mad at Dabo. My God, he asked the question. He's not saying his goal's not. Yeah, actually, we don't care about making the playoff anymore. That's not our goal. Our goal is to have guys stay opted into bowl games, says Dabo. Right? What is he supposed to say? Listen, I'm so over Paul Finebaum.
It's talking season, though. Everybody's always looking to parse somebody's words and read between the lines and just have something to talk about. Texter says, you want less football, Cole? Bowl games mean I get to watch more football.
I know the fan wants to watch them, but are you watching the rotisserie?
The fans want to watch their team in a bowl game.
That's right.
They don't want to watch other teams in the bowl game, especially if they're two directional schools from the upper Midwest.
Are you watching the rotisserie chicken by Tyson kickoff bowl at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning? I'm not. Everybody wants football, Texter, but we want meaningful football. I want meaningful games. I don't want to watch a game with Western Kentucky and Oregon State. Who cares? I want it to mean something. So that's where I am. All right, coming up next, CJ Spiller audio from yesterday. Really interesting comments about Phil Maffa. And then we'll continue the conversation about Clemson. Is running back the safest position, safest level of concern, if you will, for Clemson fans heading into August? You'll hear what the running backs coach had to say next.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
We've talked a lot about Clemson, the 2024 season, what we expect from them, Diesel, what we expect from the receiver core, and, a couple of Tolos brought up the offensive line as we are, did you say earlier, under 40 days?
37 days.
Until college
37.
football. How about that? Just around the corner, if you will. So I want to talk about the running back position. But before we do that, I do want to let you hear from the running backs coach, C.J. Spiller. It's unique that we have an interview like this because once the season starts, these guys are off limits. You cannot interview, assistants. You can interview the coordinators. You'll have Goodwin and obviously Riley, but you can't talk to the guys during the season. So it's very unique. That's why there were so many media members there yesterday at the Clemson Media Day. But after we hear this interview, I want to talk about the level of comfort for Clemson fans going into the 2024 season. If you feel like the running back room is the safest position, if you have to look at all the positions, start chewing on that. Let us know, T-Swizzle, the rest of you guys who are Clemson fans in the audience. Start thinking about what position groups you feel the best about, as well as the ones would say might be the highest level of concern. Here's C.J. Spiller from yesterday.
Honestly, it just takes me back to that 6-year-old boy, kid that just wrote down all his dreams that he wanted to accomplish in life, and just to go back and reflect on that list and to see some of the things that happened over the course of my life. It truly is amazing just to see the favor of God that's truly on my life. And really the only thing that I'm hoping whenever they decide what game and all the details and stuff like that, truly I'm just hoping that a lot of my former teammates, hopefully a couple of coaches will be able to attend because even though that'd be my name, it was a lot of people that played had a hand in making me the type of player that I was, and so hopefully I get a lot of family and friends that's able to attend because those type of things don't happen every day, and so that's really what I'm looking forward to, just trying to hopefully send as many teammates as possible. The first teammate that I talked to was James Davis, and that wasn't a surprise to me, just considering the relationship that we have, and so that meant a lot. And then obviously going forward, considering the relationship that we had, so just those two guys that reached out, and that truly meant a lot to me, just by just receiving their text messages and congratulations. So I'm just looking forward to that day, and being amongst a lot of family and friends.
You and Will came in together.
Yes.
So far, so good. We haven't had how it feels taking to being the unquestioned leader of that running back group.
I mean, you've done a great job.
Just as long as the internet stays up, the board stays up.
Who Phil will be, and I tell people all the time, and I think about it all the time. Even though me and Shipley skill sets were very similar, me and Maffa journey is pretty much identical if you really look at it. Think about my time here, it was James Davis for those first 3 years, and then obviously my last year I took the bull by the horns. The same thing. Think about the Maffa man. He had to share the load with a great player, Shipley. Now he has the opportunity to take the bulls by the horns and really lead the group, and he'd have done a tremendous job. I mean, everybody on our team respects that guy, from the players to the coaching staff, and he has a certain way that his leadership skills show, totally different than how Shipley's own was, and everybody accepts that. But he's one of those guys, when he speaks, you listen because he don't speak often. So whenever he says something, it's important. And so those younger guys, and I challenged them, this spring is you better take advantage of this opportunity to have a guy that's NFL caliber type player in your room and try to learn as much as you can, both on and off the field. That was my challenge to those young puppies in there, and I think they've done a great job this spring.
You mentioned you and James. What similarities do you you see with Phil and you saw when you were here?
From what standpoint?
In terms of just his play on the field. So you talked about the journey.
Yeah. I mean, he's a very powerful kid. I mean, he's 230 pounds. I mean, he's chiseled. I mean, he's got very soft hands, really good feet, and then he's faster than what a lot of people think, you know. And so we've seen that on display against Notre Dame, you know, how he was breaking those long runs. And so those are the similarities that I think you can probably say between him and James. Is probably very similar. Probably a little faster, probably than James, and probably probably actually do more catching the ball than what we probably ask James.
How much time, Brandon?
But I mean, Fields. I mean, he's a pro.
You have 5 minutes exactly.
You mean to take the thing off?
He want to set the tone for everybody, and it's
been a
journey just to see his growth over the years. Honestly, you know, because it was times where you had to challenge him, and he accepted.
How much time, Brandon?
Now he really want to be coached hard.
You have 4.5 minutes.
That, you know, every stone is unturned, and you know that he's able to put his best foot forward. So now we're, you know, in a whole different realm of, you know,
How did I forget to plug the?
to a great player.
I didn't think about it until I was like, what is it?
That's my fault for not getting here 20 minutes earlier. And like my new laptop, it's not the. They moved the USB connections to the other side of the laptop, so it doesn't look wrong to me to have nothing there.
He's come such a long way. When he was in Clemson playing, he couldn't talk on a microphone to save his life.
Did you want to hear somebody who could? in his linemen's faces and isn't in his quarterback's ear hole. If he's not doing those things, you'll say, oh, well, he doesn't care, right? He just doesn't care. No, that's not necessarily how all these guys are. I mean, maybe they get in their linemen's ear holes and get in their quarterback's face when things are going well. But when things aren't going well, they sit and reflect and think about things, and they don't say a whole lot. Maybe that's what kind of player somebody is. What I did really find interesting there is his emphasis on players who are not in the game, second and third string guys, really watching and taking notes and essentially being, additional analysts from the sidelines. I mean, there are things that only players can see, right? There are nuances that maybe they can see from the field level that the coaches up high can't see, or vice versa. So they get to, all convene with other running backs, and say, hey, watch when this player does this. He's ticking here. Here's what I'm seeing. I think that's really interesting to say, okay, now everybody on the field, everybody on the sideline, rather, becomes an analyst.
Well, they do, and, that's where I asked the question going back to Maffa. I asked the question, a couple of people chimed in already on the stream. T. Swizzle chimed in as well, and then we had a few texts about it, is if you are a Clemson fan, heading into the 2024 season, do you feel more comfortable about the running back position than any other position? Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver. You should feel good about your wide receiver room, in my opinion.
I mean, there's a lot of change. We talked about getting Antonio Williams back. That's got to feel really good.
Yeah, and you got three really good ones.
Brown is a really good wide receiver. You showed that last year. I think you're probably most confident in your wide receiver room, second most confident in your running backs room, and then third most confident in your quarterbacks.
It's an interesting question. I think the linebacker room this year will surprise a lot of people. I'm really high on what Sammy Brown will be able to bring to the table immediately. Texter from the 993 says, I'm nervous about running back. We needed one more year of Shipley or to have kept Dominic Thomas to build depth. Texter, I completely disagree. You did not need one more year of Will Shipley. Will Shipley was a phenomenal running back, but I'm telling you, just be patient on Maffa. Will Shipley, I don't know why Clemson fans act like Will Shipley is some kind of, Derrick Henry, you can't replace him. Will Shipley's replaceable, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he is.
Truly, Will Shipley is forgettable. I mean, do you think 10 years from now fans are going to be standing outside of Death Valley tailgating, talking about that great Will Shipley run? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. And maybe what he means there is more in the sense of having Will Shipley around for another year for depth. Phil Maffa showed himself to be the better running back last year. That's not even a question. But, of course, he didn't get the majority of the carries because everybody was really gassing up Will Shipley. We got to give the ball to Shipley. By the end of the season, I think people could clearly see that Phil Maffa was the better running back.
Easy.
He was the one bouncing off tackles. He was the one getting separation. And maybe he's thinking Will Shipley. Now, we know Dabo Sweeney, being a loyal guy, would probably not move Will Shipley down the depth chart, so to speak, and give him a smaller percentage of the carries. So it would have been nice to keep that depth. Truthfully, we learned this last year that Phil Maffa probably should have gotten 70% of the carries, Will Shipley 30%.
I just think that there's still plenty of depth there. Listen, Clemson fans, if you're listening, let me tell you this. I saw a guy in high school in Jarvis Green out of Columbia who went to Dutch Fork, who was one of the best running backs I ever laid my eyes on. Your running back depth is fine. You've got dudes. Are they Maffa? Maybe not. But remember, Jarvis Green redshirted last year. You didn't see him at all. You're going to see him at times this year. You've got guys. Ray Charles knows that last year Maffa was the better running back than Shipley. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Will Shipley. I just think that there's a majority of Clemson. There's a lot of Clemson fans who feel like that guy is not replaceable, and that's just simply not true. It's really not.
Maybe there's a portion of this fan base that what they know, the culture of the Clemson running back room is having multiple options, having that thunder and lightning type of option. And you're not always going to have that, right? You're not always going to have that. at your running back position. When we come back, Cole, we're going to look at week 1 of ACC play, which is really week, 1.5, week 2. There's 10 days or so mixed into week 1, and some of these teams are going to play twice in week 1. Make that make sense. We're going to pick against the spread for all the ACC games in week 1 next on the Fan Upstate.
Call in if you're man enough.
844 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Here it is, your second clue and your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card. 4 clues, all leading you towards one product available in every single Ingles Markets. How about this? If you think you know the answer to this product, come on by here. We're at the Ingles in Easley at 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. Clue number 1, you buy one container and you get a bunch of them. Clue number 2, there are many varieties, flavors, and forms of them. There you go. Clue number 1, you buy one container, you get a bunch. Clue number 2, there are many varieties, flavors, and forms. If you think you know what product we're talking about available inside Ingles Markets, come on by.
Do I have the product in my hand?
No, you do not.
However, real quick, not to go down a rabbit trail, Ingles has great snacks. Important question, very important question.
Yeah.
Diesel, in a party mix, trail mix, like I have in my hand,
I'm working on mine too.
What is the one that you would eliminate? So you've got the pretzels, you've got the peanuts, you've got the
Chex Mix.
You've got Chex Mix, you got Cheez-Its, you've got the little white flat, what are those called?
The
right
little,
there.
the bread.
Yeah, like the little hard bread, crunchy bread.
Yeah, it's
what
like
is that
a
called?
bruschetta.
And then you've got the other bread, the long and
I think it's the skinny tubes, the ones that
skinny
kind of
tubes.
look like bean pods.
I love those.
Yeah, the white ones.
Yeah, I love those.
Really? That's your favorite part?
Yeah.
No, that's the worst part.
You can tell what I
They're
would
dry
eliminate.
and chalky.
You can tell. Look what
the
there's more of.
pretzels.
Yeah.
The pretzels in there are great.
No.
Wait, what? You don't like the pretzels?
No, that's the worst part. That's what I would look how many of them there
and to
are.
think I've been doing a show with you
The
for
pretzels-
80 shows,
The pretzels are the worst part of
and I'm
trail
just
mix.
learning that Cole doesn't like the pretzels. Like you
That's
don't
the
like
worst
any
part.
form of pretzels.
No, I eat them. I just at a trail mix,
my
they're
God.
absolutely the worst.
Are you guys serious about this?
I mean, come on.
You're serious? Wow.
Nobody likes the pretzels in the trail mix. That's the worst.
You're dead wrong. Oh my God. You make
You want
horrible decisions. Yeah, I want all of them. What are you talking about? Give me that thing.
Come on. The pretzels are mid at best. Don't be a hater.
So
All
as
right.
we are now 37 days away from college football officially kicking off, Cole. Sorry, this is bad radio
Yeah, I
talking
just
and
handed you a
yeah.
pretzel on there.
I'm
That's
not
my
going
fault,
to
my
eat it.
fault.
I mean, I'm not going to eat it. Let's look at our week 1 games for the ACC, and instead of just picking winners and losers, because that's easy, and we're going to do that a couple of different times over the course of the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks leading up to the games. But let's pick against the spreads as they are right now, because I know, Cole, you sometimes like to throw a little bit of scratch on these games. You've been known once or twice to throw a couple nickels down on the barrel to
Just
see if you
once.
can pick up a couple of more.
Yeah.
So let's go down these games. Okay, remember week 1 stretches out much longer than a week. As a matter of fact, it's like 10 straight days of football, all considered week 1.
So
Because
these are ACC only?
ACC only games as we are leading up to our presence at ACC Media Day on Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right.
So
I'm ready.
So college football kicks off. Florida State versus Georgia Tech, Dublin, Ireland. Florida State minus 13. They've got a lot of changes. Obviously, new quarterback, a lot of new faces all over that roster, but they're expected to be very good. They're traveling all the way across an ocean. Both teams are going to be dealing with maybe a little bit of jet lag, maybe a little bit of eating weird food. These guys are used to eating, fried chicken. They're not used to eating haggis and cabbage. So maybe we get a little something weird in their systems.
Wonder
And
how many
who knows
days
what could happen.
Wonder how many days they get between the time they land and the time they play.
I think I would need
2.
I would need at least 2.
Yeah, I think so. So they would probably. It's a Saturday. They're probably going to get there on Wednesday, right?
Easily, yeah. I would want as much time as possible. Get used to the weather because it's very different from the weather in Tallahassee and Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be much nicer, right? It's not going to be anywhere near as hot, but who knows? Maybe the humidity is going to be super high. But Florida State minus 13. Who wins? Who covers? I'm fairly confident saying Florida State wins and covers in this game. They put on a show in Dublin. Now, the Irish are going to say, "What the heck is a Seminole?"
Yeah.
But they're going to watch that team whoop the Yellow Jackets' ass.
The way I look at it is, what does Georgia Tech have that makes me think that they can cover 13? I know that Georgia, ever since they evolved back to the spread, they're getting athletes in, and I get that. But that's what I would probably put this at. I'd probably put it at 14 points. And, like if I had to put money on it, I'd say Florida State wins by 14. And I could even see them winning by 17. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, 24 points or anything like that. But, again, do we really believe in Georgia Tech? DJ Uiagalelei has seen more football now in his 16th season than any other player on Georgia Tech's roster. There's just nothing they have that leads me to convinces me that they can keep it within 13.
Yeah, our friend Kelly Ford predicts a 29% chance that Georgia Tech only wins 3 conference games.
Ooh.
Florida State expected to be very good this year. I feel really confident saying the Seminoles going to beat them by more
that
than
spread,
13
by the way,
points.
that may move between now and then.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that moved closer to 15 or 16 points.
It could.
Still a lot of time to see that one bet up. Next up, SMU at Nevada. Yeah, it's weird to say SMU is an ACC team now. How long far is it a drive just to even see water in Dallas, just to get to the Gulf Coast? I mean, it's not the Atlantic Ocean.
8-9 hours.
That's a 9-hour drive
straight down. If you want to see like water toward Corpus Christi or something like that, or if you go, it's from SMU, it's a good drive to see water. Now you can see a lake, but there's no water near there.
So SMU is going on the road at Nevada, and the spread on this game is currently SMU minus 24.5. They are calling a butt. Imagine, you sat there for months waiting for football to show up, and you're seen as a 3-touchdown plus dog in week number 1. That's got to hurt quite a bit to watch your team fall to those straits.
Here's my problem with SMU and Nevada. And maybe it's not that long of a drive to see water. Maybe it's a little bit shorter, but Nevada's really bad, but SMU, I mean, they haven't been. I remember just 2 years ago when I lived out there, I went to an SMU game, and I bet there's more people at a Furman football game. I'm not
really
kidding. They were terrible. I mean, terrible. And I know Nevada's not known for football, but this game is maybe they're just thinking there's going to be no defense here.
Projected to be the 126th best team in college football.
How weird is it sitting here and saying SMU Nevada is an ACC opener? Like what? Like that doesn't even make like an opening game in the ACC. SMU? I'm going to have to get used to that.
Yeah, I think SMU probably, Cole, obviously they're going to win this game. I'm not sure that they're just going to go out and blow the doors off people, right? It's week 1, winning by 24.5 points. That's a big ask for anybody in the first week of a season while these teams are still figuring themselves out. There's no preseason. I just don't necessarily see SMU being this just over-the-top world beater to the point where they're embarrassing Nevada in week 1 of the season. We jump now to Thursday, August 29th. A couple of games where we don't have spreads, so we can't pick these, but North Carolina A&T is at Wake Forest. Wake, they should probably be a little bit nervous. A&T is always a decent enough football team, and Dave Clawson now also breaking in some new faces there. I think they're going to have maybe a little bit of a tough time with NC A&T for the first half, but after that, it's going to be fairly easy. Basically the same story with NC State. They've just got too much talent across the board. They're going to really handle Western Carolina. Not going to be an issue. This is where this one gets fun, Cole. North Carolina on the road at Minnesota. Minnesota favored by 2.
That surprises me. And I know that North Carolina doesn't have the guys at quarterback, and the quarterback position directly impacts the spread more than any other position. So what's that tell you, right? It tells you Drake May and those guys are gone. Minnesota, do we believe in the Golden Goat? What are they, Golden Gophers?
Golden Gophers,
right?
yeah.
I could see North Carolina winning this game. I don't know that Minnesota, this one's going to be a bad game, though.
I love going back to Kelly Ford's projections, and he uses returning talent. He uses a lot of different metrics to figure these things out. He's got North Carolina at 41, Minnesota at 58. Going on the road, I mean, are the Golden Gopher faithful going to be super jacked up for this game? Probably not. I mean, it's an unfamiliar opponent to them. So I think North Carolina wins.
They scored 13
yeah.
on North Carolina last year. It was 31-13 last year. So
All right, next up, Friday, August 30th, Elon at Duke. Can't cover that one because there's no spread. TCU at Stanford. TCU 8.5-point favorites in that game.
You know, I'm intrigued by Stanford, mainly because Stanford should, in my opinion, should be a really good football team year in and year out. Where they're located, the recruiting hotbed that they're in.
Good in the classroom, good in their final test results.
Maybe that's what they're good at. I want to think that Stanford, I would love to see Stanford be competitive in the ACC. I don't know that they will. If they can't handle TCU, then, TCU is better than most ACC teams, though. But I'd feel pretty comfortable. TCU 7-8. I think maybe they'll cover there.
So you think Stanford covers or TCU?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Covers?
I think TCU covers.
So I'm with you on that because Stanford is not projected to be very good at all this year. Preseason number 75.
Yeah.
TCU, they may maybe still have a couple of dogs left around from 2 years ago when they made it to the college football playoff. I think TCU is probably going to win this one fairly convincingly.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Stanford ever until we get to week number 5 or 6. Obviously, them being in the ACC, that changes some things, maybe a little bit easier of a schedule than what they were facing. But I think TCU handles Stanford. They cover that -8.5. Moving up to Saturday, August 31st, Clemson versus Georgia. Georgia is favored by 13.5 in this game. Total, Cole, 47.5. That means Vegas is predicting a 30-17 type of game. I think Georgia wins and covers, unfortunately. I think a lot of Clemson fans are going to be really doing some soul searching after that game.
Georgia, right now, I think they cover 13.5. Can Clemson keep it within 17? I think they can. I think they can keep it within 15, 16, 17. But 13.5 for Georgia, it's not a tall task. I mean, it's really not. Could Clemson backdoor it in the fourth quarter and maybe make it closer to 13.5? Sure. But, yeah, right now, looking at that game in the ACC, I'd say Georgia covers.
How about Virginia Tech, 13.5-point favorites on the road at Vanderbilt? That's pretty easy, right?
Yeah. I mean, is it?
Virginia Tech's got a good quarterback this year. Vanderbilt doesn't even have a stadium. I think they're going to be playing in the parking lot. I think not that Vanderbilt's ever very good, but you add all the additional elements of these players coming out and seeing their stadium in shambles for week 1. I think Virginia Tech is just going to wipe the field.
I'll agree with you there.
All right, next up, Austin P. Louisville, no spread there. Kent State at Pitt, no spread on that one. We do have Miami at Florida. Madcraft's ears are perking up right now. Miami at Florida. Miami are 2.5-point favorites.
You know what? This one's tough.
Melissa's over here just giving us the double thumbs down. Boo.
Listen, I'm not sold that Miami's. Listen, is Florida going to be good? I don't think they're going to be really good. I'm just not sold that Miami's going to be dominant in any fashion. I think this game is close. 2.5 might be right on it. They might have nailed this one on the head. I think this is a very, very much a coin flip game. And I would say that Miami should win that game, but ask me again 3 weeks from now, right?
Yeah.
Here's where I would hesitate. This is a must-win game for Florida. I mean, they have to win this.
Napier's trying to save his job.
Yeah, they're going to lose every other game.
Yeah.
So maybe they come out with an urgency and that, like, we have the toughest schedule ever. We've got to win this one. Ask me again 3 weeks from now, but right now I'd say Miami covers.
I think this one's going to be a skill players versus dogs kind of game. Miami's going to have better skill players. Their quarterback is better. Their wide receivers are going to be better, but Florida is just going to have bigger, faster dudes in the trenches, right? Can Miami's quarterback get the ball over those guys? I don't know, man. These are the types of games that always make me a little bit nervous because you can see Florida's defensive line just perforating that Miami offensive line, and to the point where it kind of gets ugly early. I'm going to say that Florida wins this game, and they win it probably by 10 points.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Okay, how about Ohio at Syracuse? Tough one to call here because neither of us are super familiar with these two. Syracuse minus 14.5. I think Syracuse wins this game, but Ohio covers because Ohio, not a bad football program this year.
This one's tough to call. I'll go Syracuse, though. Just early, way too early prediction. I'll go the orange cover.
Yeah, Syracuse projected to be in the 50s, so they're not a particularly, great football team. Neither is Ohio, really. It's a group of 5, Power 5 matchup. Maybe we see that oddball upset in this game. I think that one has some potential. A couple more. We can't have spreads because they're FCS versus FBS. UC Davis versus Cal. Richmond versus Virginia. That one could be a sneaky upset as well because it's one of those in-state matchups where there's a little more on the line, but Virginia under Tony Elliott has just not performed. They have not been good. So if we were picking upsets that weekend, upsets to watch, I'm looking at Richmond at Virginia. How about Georgia State at Georgia Tech? 2 schools separated by what, like 6 blocks? Something like that. Georgia State are 20.5-point dogs in this game. Georgia Tech, 20.5-point favorites. Would you bet the 20.5 over or under?
Georgia State, Georgia Tech.
Georgia State's got a new head coach.
Yeah, I'd say unfortunately, I think Georgia Tech covers. I think they cover the 20.5.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Georgia State has a little extra emotion for this, and they keep it relatively close through 3, and then Georgia Tech pulls away late. I think Georgia State covers, but Tech obviously wins this one. And how about Monday, the final game in quote unquote week 1? This is why I'm saying it's weird that some of these teams are playing twice in week 1. Boston College is on the road at Florida State. I think Florida State comes out hair on fire on this one and just beats the tar out of the Eagles.
Yeah, this one won't be close.
No.
I'll go minus. Is it 22?
It's 22. Yep.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't change. Yeah, I think I would lean toward Florida State covering that one. I think so.
Couple of really interesting games in the ACC in week 1. I think obviously we look at Clemson, Georgia, just to see, is Georgia going to be elite this year? Are they maybe a little hurt by not making the playoff? Is Clemson back? Is Dabo Sweeney the genius that everybody thought he was for a while? And then, of course, that Miami-Florida game, that one is really, really interesting to me as well. I love, these quote-unquote state championship games early, just a lot on the line. They're really interesting to me.
All right, we'll update you on what's going on in the sports world in the very next segment. It is the Daily Wires next. Daily Wires, getting you updated on what's going on in the sports world. We call them, you call them the headlines, but we call them the Daily Wires. All right, an intriguing American League game last night, right? Intriguing. Is that the right word? Or did I get that wrong?
It was an interleaguing game.
Oh, I'm sorry. Night. Interleaguing, not intriguing. Sadly, you're right, because just not a lot of, I watched a little bit of it, but just not a lot of interest there. American League did defeat the National League 5-3 in the MLB All-Star game. You got named the All-Star. I say just call it a quits and don't even play the game. And what else is it? What else is there?
Just take the award, wave your little hat in the air. Don't
Seriously.
even bother showing up.
Sacramento Kings G League coach Lindsey Harding agrees to become an assistant with the LA Lakers. Nick Saban said he's now changed his stance on playoff expansion and is all for it, because if the playoff matters, the bowl games do not matter. Expand, says Nick Saban. Greg Sankey acknowledged that his schools are still being enticed with private equity-backed super leagues at SEC Media Days.
I found that one fascinating because SEC is the big dog in this thing, right?
So
if its members are trying to be pulled away by all new conferences,
let's do it. Let's just go ahead and just I'm for it. Scratch the whole thing, wipe it out. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm for it. It makes no sense to keep them as they are anyways.
Why don't we have like 3 20-team super leagues, and then every year there's a league of 8 that break out of that, and they go do their own thing. This private equity can fund it, and have that be your promotion relegation, right? You get promoted out of the SEC into the State Farm, Globo conference for a year, and then you got to reassess and do it all over again the next year.
Also at SEC Media Day, Kalen DeBoer said about coaching south of Illinois for the first time, I sweat a lot more. It's hot. Well, that's the way that geography works there, Coach. You go south, it gets hot.
How come nobody's invented special shorts yet that run like pump cool water through your shorts? And you can go out on a hot day, coach football, mow the lawn, whatever it might be. And, the boys and the biscuits don't get all sweaty. Yeah.
Team USA, we'll get into this a little bit more later in the show. They improved to 3-0 in their old exhibition play today with a 105-79 win over Serbia. Serbia just must not be good at basketball, Diesel. I don't know much about Serbia, but let's see. Serbian players in the NBA. I'm not sure how many of them there are. It shows how much I know about Serbia, but they must not be any good because the USA put it on them. Jokic is Jokic all they have? Bogdanovic? Maybe. Yeah, that's 2 guys that I know of. So that's what I'm saying. The USA put it on them today.
Not the most original coming up with names in Serbia, are they?
No.
When you have the same first, last name, and first name?
I know Boban's from Serbia, but I don't know if he's on it or not. I did, Team USA, though, and again, we'll get a little bit deeper into it later with the players and what they've been doing. There was a few concerns in the last game. They gave up a lot of points in the paint, but they should be winning like this. I mean, when you have the roster they have, you should be putting up 105 a night at least. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Do we know if Serbia is projected to be any good this year in international play? Last week when they played, or a few nights ago when they played Australia is expected to be a very good team.
Right.
So Team USA still kind of working the kinks out and playing together for the first couple of times against a really good Australia team. So I wouldn't let that necessarily be the thing that makes you say, oh, this team's not going to win the gold this year.
And lastly, Scotty Scheffler. Diesel opens as a favorite, plus 500 to win the Open Championship. So we'll see. Again, I made a little pool. I did a little bracket challenge pool with the players this weekend, the golfers. I don't think Scotty wins it. I know he's the favorite. A lot of people are going to pick him to win it. But, man, it's just hard to predict majors. It really is. I would love to see him do it. And, he's been on such a run. What's the odds of that continuing? It's going to be tough.
Yeah, but if he's been on this much of a run, what are the odds of him just falling off in a big event? Like, this is the one that he wants to go and win or the next one.
Yeah.
He wants to go and win.
And listen, I don't think he'll fall off tremendously. but I don't know that I would take Scotty Scheffler to win it right now. Maybe at plus 500. Maybe you put a little bit of money on it because it's a good price. But Scotty Scheffler opening at 500 to win the Open Championship this weekend. Should be a lot of fun to follow that. Hopefully we get just like we've had all year long, hopefully we get a really good Sunday round number 4. That's what I'm pulling for on Sunday.
We are live here at Ingles Markets, 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. We've got your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card. We've already given you 2 of the clues. Clue number 3 coming up somewhere in the middle of the 5 o'clock hour. How about the beginning of the 5:20 segment? When we come back, Melissa Level going to join us for the 5 o'clock fight. It is when Cole and I go toe-to-toe, throw elbows and jabs and everything we can at each other. And you, the Tolos, decide who wins. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson inside the corner market inside Ingles, 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. This time every single day at 5 o'clock, Cole and I put up our fists. We duke it out. We throw jabs back and forth. It's the 5 o'clock fight. 3 different topics. The rules are we have to disagree. You, the Tolos, get to decide who wins each round, and we have our special celebrity judge here, Melissa from Ingles, will be chiming in, giving her opinions as well. And, hey, if you think Cole and I are full of it, you can vote for Melissa if you want to. How about that? Okay, here we go. It's the 5 o'clock fight.
It's an all-out slugfest, and nobody's leaving unscathed. 3 topics, 1 winner. It's the 5 o'clock fight on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
We fight it out. You vote by texting 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. You can also reply in the comments section on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube. 3 rounds. Let's get it on. Fight number 1. Will we see a now deceased movie star back as a starring character in a major movie as an AI character in the next 10 years?
So basically, somebody who's dead and gone.
Already dead and gone.
And they're going to revive him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Listen, I think there's no doubt that AI has taken over the scene. I just don't know that even as someone who's passed away, even if you have all of their qualities, personality types, I still don't know if that's enough to make it seem like it's the original. And here's the worst part of it. Nobody wants a knockoff, right? And that's my fear, is that it would be cheesy, noticeable. I say no, we won't see it.
You're saying no because you believe the technology isn't good enough, or you think people just don't want it?
I'd say both.
You say both.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd say both.
Here's the deal, Cole. We have the song, we have the audio of Randy Travis, his voice being redone by AI. It analyzed all of his voice prints that they could get.
Yeah, that other girl too.
It's essentially indistinguishable.
Yeah, who was that girl too? Chris Johansson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You can't tell that it's not the real Randy Travis. So you're telling me in the next 10 years' time, number one, that studios aren't depraved enough to put a dead actor in a movie as an AI representation?
It's like already like Weekend
It's going to happen.
I mean, Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
I say no.
It's going to happen. Like, it's going to be it's going to be an actor,
all of us.
a family, the family. First of all, you need the family of the actor to consent, right? To say, hey, we give the studio consent to,
they get the money, like they got paid, paid $20 million for the Titanic.
So exactly.
To remake it the Titanic. My question is this, okay, before I make a judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they bring them back in like some iconic role? Right? Like, for example, like
think Chadwick Boseman. If they brought Chadwick Boseman back to be in a Black Panther movie 10 years from now, once the technology is good enough,
or Lieutenant O'Hara,
they'll totally do it.
You know what I mean?
Like, they'll totally do it. There's no scruples in Hollywood.
Like how you knew them when they passed away, right?
They could do exactly that. They don't have to age them up. They could age them up if they wanted to.
No, I would think that I wouldn't want them to look like say their last great movie was really great, but it was like 20 years before they died. You'd want to bring them back when they were the 20 years when they died in the iconic role, right?
It could be. I mean, they could age them. They can make them whatever age they want to. If AI can analyze, hey, give me Chadwick Boseman what he would look like at age 50.
And 20, right, or age 50. Or
could the actor that died 8 or 10 years ago that was all the comedy movies that everybody loved?
Chris Farley?
No, not Chris.
But you could do
he was
that
an
too.
RV. What was that RV? You know
Robin Williams.
Robin
yeah,
Williams.
you're telling me they wouldn't put an AI Robin Williams in a movie?
And I have to put a comment because there were some tragic deaths.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, and I think that would be disrespectful.
Well, it might be because
that's up for the family to decide if they feel like it's okay for them to do it or not.
But I don't think anybody would buy a ticket.
Oh, I totally think they would.
Oh no,
I totally think they would. Have you not seen like the hologram?
I guess I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, there's like the hologram Tupac concerts. People buy tickets to go see a hologram Tupac.
I want you to know, who's the band that who's the band that Roger likes? That band that Roger.
She's doing this thing here.
Like this.
Yeah.
ABBA. The
Yeah.
ABBA tour is all AI.
Yeah, people are
and
buying
you
tickets.
Cannot, London, it was sold out for 10 shows. You cannot tell that, but they're all alive. Okay.
Kind of.
Okay.
Elvis.
They're also alive. Elvis would be kind of cool.
AI Elvis?
Oh,
You
AI
telling
I
me
changed my mind
No,
for
see,
that.
I would change my mind for that too.
I changed my mind for
I'm going
that.
to tell you what. I'm going to say yes, and only because yes. The only reason why is because not because I love you, Diesel,
Well, thank you.
but because
Agreed.
I think we're already doing it.
Really?
Well,
Well,
with dead people, but live
there
people
was
and everything.
I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, Grand Admiral
say-
Tarkin. They brought him
Him
back, a
back, right.
completely CGI version of him.
Exactly. And we're
in the
already
movie.
doing that when
Yeah.
and think about all we've done with animation already.
Yeah.
And all that other stuff. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I just think that there's going to be an emotional, moral fiber that goes through there that is going to be a little iffy.
Well, he doesn't have an emotional,
Scarlett
moral problem
Johansson
with
did not give
Randy
them,
Travis.
They did not give them permission to use Scarlett Johansson's voice, but yet everything on AI now sounds exactly like Scarlett Johansson.
Telling me the Sean Connery estate wouldn't give
that would be up to them. But
MGM or Warner Brothers license to
question-
use his.
I think in movies like that, it could be okay.
Yeah.
But I think in tragic deaths that hit you like a Buddy Holly, I don't know that I'd be.
But the question was, will we
Right,
see it? And I believe yes. I believe
think
yes,
you'll
we
definitely
will see it.
Yes. And I think you're seeing it now with real people.
Texter says we've already seen it in Fast and Furious.
That's right.
That's true. They did. They did
So
see.
we've already done it.
Well, it's not really AI. They use Paul Walker's brother
Right.
and then as a stand-in,
But it's still the same kind
and then
of
they
thing.
kind of tweaked his face just
Yep.
a little bit.
You
But
don't
I
have
think,
masks
that
now
was
that
was
work
a small
exactly.
part. That wasn't that a small part. They were just using like fill-in
Right.
for the scenes they
because
didn't quite
they didn't
finish.
quite do right.
But I think they're gonna have. I think they would have a star. You tell me Tom Cruise 25 years from now, once Tom Cruise is dead and gone, they're not going to want more
Bruce
movies with him in
Willis.
it. Yeah,
Bruce Willis.
I think it's going to happen.
But I mean, I think there are some things. Listen, as long as it's not like something really tragic.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you could see that. I mean, I think Elvis would be. I think Michael Jackson. I would pay my right arm to see.
I thought Elvis was still alive.
Yeah.
What is he, like 110 by now?
Yeah, and you know what? The CIA has a mass program. I mean, you cannot tell. They can put a whole male thing over a woman, and you cannot tell that it's not the person.
I believe
because they have a conversation.
I think we're seeing that in sports already.
Yeah, I believe it.
Round 2, here we go.
Can I get a work at the AI me?
When the 2024 football season is said and done, I don't want to start thinking about those days
I know,
because
that's sad.
we haven't even gotten started yet. I don't want to think about it being done. Will we still be talking about Colorado and Deion Sanders because what they've done on the field?
So this is an intriguing question that makes you think, right? Because of the very important part is what you said at the end. Because of what they've done on the field. We'll always talk about Deion, right? Because he's going to make himself in the news. However, the question is because of what they've done on the field, I'm not sold that they've made a big enough jump from year 1 to year 2. Shedeur Sanders is a good quarterback, but again, they made all the headlines last year in the first 3 weeks, and then it fizzled out like a firecracker. And I think it happens again. Maybe it lasts a little longer this year. Maybe it goes week 6, week 7. But when it all comes down to it, the playoffs get here. We'll look 1 through 12. Colorado won't be there. They'll fizzle out. I say no, we will not be talking about the Colorado and Deion Sanders.
You put me in an unenviable position of having to say that Colorado is going to have a better season than we think they will. Colorado, as of right now, projected to win just 4 Big 12 games. I think Colorado may, early in the season, be able to beat a couple of good teams. And then maybe that'll sustain them for the remainder of the season. They don't have the hardest schedule to start. North Dakota State, which actually I think is going to be a struggle for
Tougher
them.
than people think.
Nebraska, Colorado State, Baylor,
Colorado
UCF.
State's an emotional game, too.
I think by week number 5 of this season, I think Colorado could still be sitting there in that 4-1 range, and then they've just
But you
got
didn't
to look
disagree.
good. Right. Well, he said we're not going to be talking about him for being good.
Right. You're not going to be
But he puts me in a position where I
Right.
have to tell
That's
you
right.
that Colorado's going to be great. So, I mean, after that, things get considerably more difficult. They play a ranked Kansas State, ranked Arizona, ranked Utah, ranked Kansas, ranked Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be brutal down the stretch here.
You could be
And
talking about how many
maybe we'll be talking about how much they
bad
sucked and
are, right?
how much they got their
See,
asses
because you didn't
kicked.
say how good they were. You
That's
said,
still
are you
on
just
the
gonna be
field.
talking about what they did on the field.
You know,
So
I
you could be
hope we
talking about-
are.
But I'm going to tell you something. What I see with Colorado, and this is the problem because they are all showboat, and it's really easy to steal a script. They don't have a system that can't be figured out. Okay.
Yeah.
And so once they played a few good games with all those big showboat plays and everybody out there hyping them up, once everybody figured them out, it was over.
And they started playing good teams.
They were playing good teams, but they can play anybody. You can figure them out. They don't have
Right.
They have a lot of pizzazz without the meat.
Well, what the Oregon
okay,
what the
they're
Oregon
dessert.
coach say last year? They're they're chasing the clicks or
Right.
chasing.
Well,
the
the good thing about Colorado is, I mean, they're crushing it in the transfer portal. They have a top 10 transfer portal class
Who
in
wouldn't go to work if you could
2024.
get $1 million deal on anything you want?
Right.
Dion worked that. He worked that because he's in that business. He is a showboat. I love Dion. He was one of my favorite, but he would arrive with a cape, okay, in a stretch limo as long as the football field, okay? I mean, he was a terrific player and he made it up on the field. He really did great. But he is a showboat. He's a cherry on top. You need the whole meat dish underneath it.
He didn't get any 5 stars in this portal class, but he got 8 4 stars, which puts them 32 3 stars. That's a lot of your meat and potatoes kind of guys on your roster, the 3-star guys. I think having 8 new 4 stars coming into this program with what they already had, I get a lot of guys left. I think we're going to see Colorado step up and be not great compared to where they were last year, not certainly inside the top 20 discussion, maybe sort of edging close to a 12-team playoff, but I think they're going to surprise some people and be a better team this year than they were last year. Can Deion Sanders motivate a bunch of new guys? I think Deion Sanders has the ability to motivate a crop of new guys to play well together.
Bingo, but I'm going to tell you something. As long as you're winning and doing what you want, but I don't want to be the guy that has sold my soul and still has to work for Deion when I don't do what he wants me to do.
So that's 2 fights, 1 more to go. Let's get into round number 3. We talked about this earlier in the show. Brett Murphy, great college football writer, and his employer, Action News, talked to dozens of Big Ten and SEC officials who said, all of them said, they are not interested in Florida State, quote, because they've been disruptors. Because Florida State has shaken the hornet's nest with the ACC, and they've looked bad on the way out. So they say they don't want Florida State for that reason. The question is, do we believe those Big Ten and SEC officials? Do we actually buy that neither of those conferences is interested in Florida State because they're disruptors?
Are they talking football or basketball?
Football.
Okay.
I think we do believe them. I believe those officials in the other conferences, especially in the SEC. I think there's a lot to be said about the officials in a conference having a perception of another school in another conference and how they act in that conference compared to how they might act in their new conference. Florida State and Clemson didn't read the rules. They signed the contract, and I think we should believe them. I don't think they want Florida State because the lawsuit is a black eye, in my opinion, and I think the officials are telling the truth here.
So, do you think the NCAA is okay for us to not trust them and think that they're going to do the right thing this year too? I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
No, you can say whatever.
I said that.
You can say whatever.
See, they don't like it because we held their feet to the fire. Okay. And I think this whole thing is ridiculous and it's changing college football to the end of the earth. All right. You go ahead, Diesel. I'll let you talk first.
So no,
I don't want to be mad.
I think Florida State and Clemson as well, but the discussion is about Florida State. I think that property, that brand is worth way too much for the Big Ten and the SEC to really walk away from it. I just don't believe that if they became available, if they were able to get out of their contract, who knows what kind of financial shambles they might be in to even get out of the ACC. but you're telling me there's not a ton of value in Florida State. You're telling me that the Big Ten is happy, that the SEC is happy to let Florida State and Clemson go to the Big 12, let them out of their backyard.
No.
I don't believe that for a second.
No, I think that they're probably scared a little bit of it. But I want to tell you this.
Scared of Florida State?
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, because it takes, they have higher television ratings. They have a brand that people just instinctively want to watch, right? And they're coming off a season where they were very controversial. So a lot of people have eyes on them. But here's my take. I want them to stay right where they are.
In the ACC.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because there is not enough television hours to be able to get what you want to get in super conferences. Okay. And I am a true believer that there are other outlets coming down the road, okay, that already have some deals with the ACC. Okay.
Facebook Live,
Wink,
breaking
wink.
news.
Wink,
Well,
wink. No, I mean, you look at it, it's no secret that Nexstar bought the CW, okay, and signed the deal with Live, signed the deal with Xfinity Racing, signed the deal with ACC. They ran 50 basketball games. They ran all of the ACC, football schedule. You know what? You could be sitting pretty with a lot of TV time to sell, okay, and be able to be out there on national network just like everything else. And particularly in football, not end up in a conference where you never see the light of day on television or for a playoff.
So there are roughly 500,000 living alumni from the University of Florida. There's roughly 400,000 living alumni from Florida State. Not that big of a difference. You got those alumni, you got their families, and then you're just adding fans on top of that because there's hundreds of thousands of fans on top of that. You're telling me that those two conferences are saying, nah, we don't want this 1.5 million, 2 million possible potential fans of our conference.
I think you're right. I think that their value, I think they're trying to negotiate. They don't want to pay. You know what? Because now their coffers are starting to drive because they've got to pay all that money out to all these teams to put them in that conference. And these TV deals are expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, these conferences are also getting used to now being able to bring in major new properties for half price.
And so now you look at this too. You look at the other side of that. If they say where they are, they could, number one, be king of the hill. Okay. So you're pretty much.
But what if the conference just goes away?
It's not going to go away.
The ACC?
No. Because you have other teams in there that are well established and they'll pull up other teams from FCS Conference, SoCon, Big South. I really believe that conference is safe. Okay. And even safer because you got a network that doesn't have to pay 20 schools, okay, in network TV deals and only has to pay the conference, right? And I'll tell you something else. When that lawsuit happened for NIL, okay, now you got a Power 4, not a Power 5, right? So those 4 conferences are only paying, those Power 4 conferences are only paying 40% of that lawsuit. Guess who's paying the rest? The rest is going to the smaller conferences. Sun Belt, SoCon, Big South. Those small schools that do not make a dime hardly on TV time are paying. They're going to lift up the rest of this money because it's spread out along all the NCAA participants, right? Okay, so you have these. They didn't adjust it by how much money you could pay. They adjusted it just by 40%, 60%, right? So I really believe that Florida State stays where they are. They're guaranteed a spot in the top 12. Go ahead and try to keep us out then. Okay. You get a fair shot.
As long as your quarterback doesn't get hurt, they won't.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway. Had we
You're
gone
right.
there,
It would have been close. They'd got killed.
No. I am going to agree with Diesel.
I'm trying to poke
Okay.
Melissa's
You just talked your way out of the vote. Cole
for
Bryson.
everything from now until eternity.
Okay.
And I tell you what, I hate the Cowboys.
So to recap today's 5 o'clock fight, round number 1, in 10 years' time, will we see now dead movie stars back in major movies in AI form. Cole says, no way. It's too distasteful. They're not going to do it. I say, oh, yeah, they will. Round 2, when the season is over, we'll be talking about Colorado and Deion Sanders because of what they've done on the field. Cole says no chance, I think, because they've done such a great job in the transfer portal that maybe Colorado will be better than a lot of people think they can be this year. And round 3, do we believe that the Big Ten and SEC really don't want Florida State and Clemson? I say, no, I don't believe that. I think they are absolutely a valuable property. Cole says he does believe them, that they're not interested. What are your
Florida
votes?
State, yeah.
71307. Start your text with keyword fan. You can also comment on the stream. Tell us who won each round of the fight. And if you want to suggest a 5 o'clock fight, here's how.
What do you want Diesel and Co. Bryson to fight about next? If you've got an ass, I'll kick it. Submit your topics to diesel@thefanupstate.com. Subject line, fight on the Fan Upstate.
All right, Cole, I'll let you take the text line because it is just absolutely buzzing on the text line today.
Let's see. Texter from the 344 says, Cole round 1, Diesel 2, because I just trust Jake picking Shador as the best Big 12 quarterback. I don't want to believe it. Cole round 3, so I got one win there. 341 says round 1, didn't hear it. Round 2, Cole. Round 3, Cole, John Dog. Appreciate that, John Dog. I have 2 wins so far. However, Diesel gets a win from the 615. 615 says Diesel 1, Cole 2, Diesel 3. 979 says Cole round 1, Cole round 2, Diesel round 3. Let's see here. Sly Guy says, Cole, you're my boy, but you lost all 3. And he says, give me AI Prince. We were talking about Prince a couple of weeks ago.
I love that.
You like Purple Rain, by the way? That's the conversation.
I love it. And I'll tell you something. I love Purple Rain, but I'm
better song, Purple Rain or When Doves Cry?
No, but you know what? Purple Rain. But can I just tell you
yes!
this? Do you think
Lies.
you'll see people fake their death on AI?
Oh, maybe. I want
just imagine being able to say, you know what? I retire. I'm gonna go into a fancy studio, and you can run as many cameras around, take as many photos, as many videos, get my walking down, get my voice down, and then you know what? Use it how you want. I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm going to an island.
Texter 344 says, Diesel changed his answer from round 1. You said it wouldn't happen. I said it already did.
Yeah, but Texter, you misunderstood where I'm going with this, okay? See, you recognized, you're talking about the Paul Walker and his brother stepping in. They used his brother as a body double for select scenes that they weren't quite finished with.
That wasn't
I'm
AI.
talking about a full AI performance.
Right.
Start to finish, full AI performance in a movie.
Yep.
Oh, that'd be so weird.
Let's see. Texter says Big Ten takes FSU. Ain't no way they turned down the chance for Florida State UF rivalry money.
Oh yeah, and let me tell you, how do you know that you never say to your negotiator your best deal at the beginning? Never want them to know how much you love it.
JC gives Diesel the clean sweep, and also 470 says Diesel clean sweep. So it's split on the text line. Anybody on the stream?
One other texter says Colorado goes 3-9 and Sanders is fired. Wow, really interesting.
Not happening.
Let's see. Madcraft giving you the win, Cole. He says Cole wins round 1. Cole wins round 2. Diesel wins round 3. Thanks a lot, Madcraft.
Most important question, though, Melissa. We were having this discussion earlier before you got here. I was eating one of the cartons of trail mix from the Ingles Deli.
Right.
Great plug.
Yep.
And
very good.
when you are eating the trail mix, you have the little white pieces of crunchy, the bread almost, that's really good.
Like
you
a flat crouton, shaped like a coin.
Like a flat crouton, that's right. There's a dark brown one as well. You have the long, skinny,
like the sesame thing.
The little bread.
Yeah.
It's also like a little bread. You have, what else? You have the pretzels. You have the Cheez-Its.
And the Chex.
You have the Chex Mix. If you have to eliminate one of those out of it, which one is it?
The Chex. They have
no taste.
No, I love the Chex.
Yeah, but you have to put sugar and milk on those.
Some of them are already a little bit sweetened.
Well, you get the cinnamon
Maybe it's a
Chex.
placebo effect. I eat the unsweetened Chex, but I still taste sweet. I don't understand.
I said eliminate the pretzels.
I want to know, do you go trail mix that has that stuff with the chocolate and the dried berries and the nuts, or do you go with the Chex Mix with all the different crunchy stuff?
I don't like the berries. I want the unhealthy M&Ms and stuff.
Okay, you know they're sweet. They're dry berries. They're full of sugar.
Yeah,
You're messed up.
you candy them, make them a little extra sweet, and then you just sit there. You're supposed to eat them as a snack, just a little bit here and there to keep you going, but then you end up eating the whole carton anyway.
Yeah, and I'm just getting ready to make my gator jerky.
Gator jerky.
Yep, gator jerky.
Now, is there an Ingalls market anywhere in this country that sells alligator? I know the meat department is known for selling some interesting and hard to find meats. Does anywhere sell
Coach Novell
alligator
just goes
meat?
out and catches an alligator, and then we all chop it up. He does it with his bare hands, and then we skin it, make purses out of it, and then we make gator jerky, and we feed it to the gators.
I wouldn't brag about feeding the child of the sister of the blind, Melissa. I mean, that's not really.
He goes out and kills it with his bare hands. Well, who is going to turn that down at a conference? Okay.
How many days before let you go?
What do you get with Georgia? You get like a little teeny tiny dog that almost gets eaten up by a Texas Longhorn. Okay?
Yeah, but it's going to eat Tiger, I believe, on that August 31st.
Yeah, I got to tell you.
Before we let you go, how many days off the top of your head till college football?
38.
God, you're good. You're good. That's
Go
impressive.
Noles and Ireland. I'm hoping that gives them the lucky charm for the rest of the season.
Now, the next time we see you will be 1 week from today.
At the ACC meeting
At the ACC meeting, exact same time.
Right.
5 o'clock. It may be 5 o'clock fight. It may be me, you, Diesel talking to,
Who knows?
whoever.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out.
It'll be a great time. And listen, I just love doing this with you guys. Thank you so much for coming into our stores and doing this. We see so many people out and about that say, when are they coming back? We love seeing you guys. You're doing a terrific job. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you
Thank you,
allowing
Melissa.
us to be here. No doubt about it.
Love
Coming up
it.
next, Team USA won today. We'll go into the numbers a little bit on the other side. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. This is the Fan Upstate.
Sound off now at 844-FAN phone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
All right, a little bit of a shorter segment here. I do want to let you know that we have our guest of the day coming up at 6 o'clock, Jordan Kay. I do not know if he's back yet. He may be coming back as we speak, but he was in the Big D. That's right, Dallas, Texas, covering SEC Media Days. He was there on Monday when South Carolina and Shane Beamer were there. So we'll have firsthand experience, firsthand knowledge of Shane Beamer's comments, the players that he had with him there on Monday. We'll talk to Jordan of the State newspaper coming up in just a few moments. But Diesel, USA handled Serbia today, 105-79. A sellout crowd, 12,517 people, which is a sellout, which wouldn't be in a lot of places here, right? However, it's a sellout there. And the Team USA 3-0. I just am very intrigued with this. I know I told you earlier, okay? I have to backtrack. I told you I wasn't going to watch the Olympics. But guess what? I'm going to watch Steve Kerr, and I'm going to watch Team USA. I'll say this. I'll be very disappointed if they don't win at all. You can't go over there with that team and not win at all.
Well, they've won 4 in a row, 4 straight Olympic gold medals. So this is America. We expect to win this game. We invented this game, right? It seems like a crime when we don't win this game. And, so expectations are sky high. It's gold medal or bust, essentially. And, it seems to me that they are maybe rounding into a little bit of form here in their third game now that they've played international play. Steph Curry finished with 24 points in this game. Bam Adebayo had 17 points in this game, 3 3-pointers. So, all these guys know each other, right? They're longtime pros. They've probably played with each other on all-star teams before. I always just wonder when you have collections of players like this, how much does familiarity with the other guys on your team really matter when you're playing with the best, most skilled players in the world?
So I think that's a really good question. I do not think it matters as much when you're talking about LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. And here's why. Does it matter? Sure. Will I allow people to use that as an excuse of why USA loses? Absolutely not. You're talking about the most skilled basketball players on the planet with LeBron and Anthony Edwards and Steph, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. They need a gel, but let's be honest. In any profession, when you throw some guys in a room, if they're the best at what they do, it may take them a couple of days to collaborate, right? But at the end of the day, no, there's no way you can tell me that Tyrese Halliburton and Anthony Edwards and LeBron and Jason Tatum and AD, and by the way, Derek White came in today for the first time, still no Kevin Durant. You can't convince me that, they're not going to gel quick enough because they all play on different teams. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I mean, they are the best of the best. And, at some point, skill apparently does take over because clearly Team USA wins an awful lot of golds in the Olympics. The way this is going to work, Cole, is that the U.S. Olympic team will play in Group C against Serbia, team that they just beat, South Sudan, and Puerto Rico. Then the knockout round shifts to Paris with the quarterfinals, semifinals, and gold medal game there in Paris. But
the actual games that matter.
Yeah. So assuming you get out of Group C, but I don't think necessarily that Team USA is good. Puerto Rico is a territory, right? How is that? No, my geography, my geopolitical
now, does it say
knowledge.
when those games start?
July 28th will be the game versus Serbia. July 31st, South Sudan, and then August 3rd will be the game against Puerto Rico. August 6th, games shift to Paris. But, Team USA has also been flying all over the world to play these games, right? They just played this game yesterday or today against Serbia. They played that game in Abu Dhabi. They played a game in Las Vegas. They played a game in Emirates Arena. So they've been all over the world. A lot of travel for this team just to tune up.
So they have 10 days off, or they have more between now and then? Oh, no. Okay, they play South Sudan in an exhibition.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, so they play South Sudan and Germany on the 20th, which is Saturday, and then again on Monday against Germany. Both of those should be dubs. I mean, come on. We're not going to lose to Germany in basketball. That's for certain.
So is our demand perfection throughout the entire season build up to and the games?
I don't demand perfection out of Team USA. I just do what Al Davis said. Win, baby, win, right? Like, this team is just way more talented than anybody else. Nikola Jokic today, yeah, he had 20-something points, whatever. But what you run into is, while these other countries, Diesel, have great stars, nobody has a star-studded lineup like Team USA does, top to bottom. It is truly the best. So to answer your question, yeah, they should roll ever. Are they going to have off days? They're professionals. They're going to have off days. It happens. However, I want them to win the gold medal. I don't want them to lose a single game. I don't care if they win by one, but you'll win all of them.
So thank you, Texter, for helping me out there. My instincts were right. Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States. The question is, why do they get to compete as their own country in the Olympics?
Crazy.
Make sense. We've owned Puerto Rico since 1898.
What's the deal with that? Well,
yeah.
I mean, do they think they're better? I mean, come on.
Yeah, there's not a lot of NBA stars coming out of Puerto Rico there. Now, if Puerto Rico had its own baseball team in the Olympics, that might be okay. They might be fairly good.
I want to see real quick before we hit a break. Are there odds on who is favored to win the Olympic basketball in Paris? Let's see. Here they are. 2024 men's Olympic basketball odds. Greece, a long shot. Let's see here. USA, Serbia. Listen to this. USA, Serbia on July 28th, the first real game that you were talking about. USA's favored by 14.
Mm-hmm.
South Sudan, USA minus 33 and a half. So South Sudan's going to get Sudan on July 31st. It's not even going to be close. Here's the odds to win the entire thing. USA minus 500, which is a terrible price. If you're not a bettor, if you're not into gambling, minus 500 means you are extremely heavy favorites. The next closest, Diesel, Canada plus 1,100, France plus 1,400, and Serbia plus 1,500. Japan plus 50,000. So, yeah, USA is heavily favored.
I'm going to be real with you, Cole. I didn't even know that South Sudan was a country. Like, this one good thing about the Olympics, Cole, and one good reason all Americans should watch it, you get to learn what countries are actually countries now, because there's a lot that we don't know about the world. Yeah, everybody knows Sudan.
Yeah, but I didn't know there was a South.
Calling it South Sudan feels like we named it South Sudan.
Is there a North Sudan?
Yeah, no. Well, Sudan is North Sudan. It's like imagine Arkansas sitting on top of Louisiana. That's Sudan and South Sudan.
So it's Arkansas and South Arkansas. That's what you're saying.
Pretty much.
Let's see. The next closest behind USA is Canada plus 1,100. They have the most hated player in the world in Dylan Brooks. Obviously, no one's pulling for him.
How much money do we think Drake is going to lose on these Olympic Games?
Oh, that's true. He might. So here's what Canada has. Jamal Murray, R.J. Barrett, A.J. Wiggins, Dylan Brooks, Gilgeous Alexander, anybody else notable, Dwight Powell. So there's a lot of talent on that team. There's a lot of Canadians in the NBA people don't realize, but again, they have an 8.33% probability to win the whole thing. What's that tell you?
Yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to watch the Olympic Games. I like more about it than you do. I love watching the sprinting element of track and field. I mean, who sits there and watches them run 20 laps around the track? Nobody. Who watches the discus and the shot put? Nobody. Who watches the javelin? Nobody. But the track and field, some of the track and field stuff is really interesting to me. The diving is always fun to watch, and then the basketball. That's pretty much where it ends for me with Olympics, because you can't watch the rowing stuff. That's boring. That's dull. I mean, maybe you watch it this year just to see if a turd is gonna bounce off of one of their oars and end up in the boat.
Oh God!
They play hot potato instead of going out there and winning gold medal.
That's
Maybe
gross.
winning the brown medal. Thank you
That's
very much.
gross. Disgusting.
Let's see. Madcraft says reminds me of how bad America was at naming places. We either used to use an existing name like New York and New Orleans, or we used a direction for an existing name. You're not wrong, Madcraft. We weren't very original, though it was, just Carolina, and then they split it, just north and south. That's what they did. When we come back, Cole will take a whip around the sports world, get you reintroduced, and catch you up on our daily wires. That's next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the
It's time for your third clue and your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card. If you think you know what product we're talking about, come on down here to Ingles in Easley. We are at the Ingles at 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. If you think you know what product I'm talking about here, you could win a $25 Ingles gift card. Clue number 1 was you buy one container and you get a bunch of them. Clue number 2, there are many varieties, flavors, and forms of this product. Clue number 3, I think this is maybe the giveaway. You can only get them open if you're strong enough.
Oh, so it eliminates me.
You got those little hands. Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah, so there you go. That's clue number 3. We'll give you our fourth and final clue. How about at the top of the 6 o'clock hour to give you guys plenty of time to get on down here and drop your name in the box for your chance to win a $25 Ingles gift card. But right now, Cole, we take a whip around the sports world. We call it our Daily Wires. This is the buzz happening around there right now. The American League beat the National League last night 5-3 in the MLB All-Star Game. Shohei Ohtani blasted an early 3-run home run to give the NL a lead. But then late in the game, Red Sox center fielder Jarren Duran hit a 2-run home run off Reds pitcher Hunter Green. That proved to be the game winner. He also won the All-Star MVP in his first go.
Oh, how about that? Boy.
Sacramento Kings G League coach Lindsey Harding has agreed to become an assistant under J.J. Redick for the Los Angeles Lakers. Remember, her name was thrown around quite a bit, Cole, as a potential candidate for the first head coaching job, first female head coach in the NBA.
Yeah, I think there was some people throwing her name around for the Hornets job.
Really? Yeah. Her name always kind of gets banded around. I wonder if
that's pretty cool, though. I like it, man.
What's the better path in your mind to being an NBA head coach, assuming that's what she wants, being a G League head coach or being an NBA assistant?
NBA assistant.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
the
sort of the
Los
next step in the
Angeles
ladder.
Lakers. Are you kidding me? That's huge for her. I mean, I don't know. I'm intrigued by it.
Today marked day 3 of SEC Media Day, and Nick Saban officially made his pick for who he thinks will play for the SEC title, and he did not pick his former employer, Alabama. He picked Georgia versus Texas to end up in the SEC title
That's
game.
An easy pick, right?
Yeah. Alabama offensive lineman Tyler Booker responded to the news by saying, something Nick Saban taught us was to not pay attention to the external noise.
Well, I think Saban did that on purpose so that Alabama would be motivated and they could put it on the newspaper. They put it on the newspaper. They've already hung it in the locker room, I heard.
Intentionally giving away bulletin board material against his old team.
Already put it in the locker rooms.
Love it.
Your coach says you can't win an SEC championship without him.
Nick Saban has also recently made statements about about his changing stance on college football playoff expansion. He's now all for it because he said if bowl games don't matter and the playoff matters more to fans, do what the fans want. Expand the college football playoff. Look, I was a fan of an FCS school. We had a 16-team playoff, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So I'm all for college football playoff expansion. Greg Sankey acknowledged that some of his schools are still being enticed with private equity-backed super leagues. So who do you think it is? Maybe Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, LSU, Texas. He's saying that private equity super leagues are still coming after his inventory. Next up, Kalen DeBoer was talking about his taking over there at Alabama, and he was asked about coaching south of Illinois for the first time in his career, and he said, well, I sweat a lot more. It's hot.
I was on the phone with somebody this morning, no joke, in Alabama, lives in Tuscaloosa, a guy I work with, and he was it was like 10:30. He said it's 96. He said every day about 10:30, it's 95, 96.
And let me guess, they're practicing outside in dark red gear.
2 days. 2 days.
Can we do those inside in the IPF and the air conditioning? Can we do that? Team USA has improved to 3-0 with a 105-79 win over Serbia. And finally, Cole, Scotty Scheffler opens as a favorite to win the Open Championship plus 500 at Royal Troon in Scotland.
I can't wait. I hope we get another good Sunday of golf because I've said it multiple times since you and I have been on air. I don't consider myself a golf fanatic, but we've had some really good Sunday golf this year, and I hope it continues.
It is a bucket list item of mine to go play a round of golf in Scotland. I don't even care. It could be a municipal course over there. Don't care. It's where the game came from. I got to go play around there one day.
You should. Odyssey will pay for it. All right, coming up next, Jordan Kay. He covers South Carolina for the state newspaper. He was in Dallas at SEC Media Days the past few days. He'll join us to talk about South Carolina next.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
We're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Final hour of the program coming your way on this Hump Day edition of Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. This is the Fan Upstate. We appreciate you being a part of the program as we have been talking a lot of Clemson, a lot of South Carolina, a lot of SEC media days. And speaking of South Carolina, speaking of SEC media days, for the first time on Wire to Wire, we bring on Jordan Kay. He covers South Carolina for the state. Jordan, number one, we appreciate you hopping on with us. And number two, have you made it back from the Big D, or are you still in Dallas as we speak?
Still in Dallas at the media dining area right now.
Oh, that's a good place to be.
A couple hours. No more food, but we have about 85 flavors of Dr. Pepper. So if you want to try Dr. Pepper with coconut, it's the place to be.
Dr. Pepper with coconut.
Jordan Kay, who covers South Carolina for the state newspaper, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Shane Beamer opened with over 15 minutes in his opening statements. Jordan, you cover Shane Beamer quite a bit. You spend a lot of time kind of parsing his words. What parts of his opening statements do you sort of clearly place into the bucket of coach speak? And what parts do you think were the most truthful and the most telling?
Man, it all kind of blends together a little bit. I did think it was the most interesting part is like how bullish he was about his team. And it's very easy for like fans or anyone to say, well, of course he's bullish on his team. That's what every coach does. But like, it's really not. Like a lot of these coaches get up there, they try to temper expectations as much as possible because they don't want any quote to be used against them. They'll say, we're just working as hard as we can. The team's been working really hard. It's the hardest working, blah, 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 all this stuff. Shane Beaver is coming out there saying, we had coaches that could have gone to the NFL and they came back, and we had players that came back and they didn't come back to be average and go 6-6, and we expect to compete for the playoff. And he is like making some pretty bold claims. They're like, these are the quotes that people bookmark on Twitter and are ready to use in November if they're have 5 or 6 wins. So he kind of put himself on the line a little bit, which if you're a South Carolina fan and want to read into that, you would think that means he clearly likes his team.
Jordan, it's fascinating you bring that up because, number one, we talked about that yesterday, and I have always been on record saying, look, I like Shane Beamer. I really do. I think he's a good coach, and I think if South Carolina gives him time, he'll be just okay. However, the one criticism I do have, and I talk to a lot of South Carolina fans who feel the same way, the way that he speaks and the way that I heard him speak at SEC Media Days on Monday, and I thought you put it very well in a bullish sense, it seems like it's a defense mode, a defense mechanism that he puts up, like he's trying to almost convince people or almost try to save his job. Is that just how he's wired, or is that something that we maybe are reading into a little too much?
I think that's just how he's wired. Like, I think he's trying to, stick up for his players and create excitement, which in a way that's, what coaches should do. Hey, he's given his team fuel in a sense. If that makes sense. They're trying to use it as somewhat of a motivation tactic. Hey, these guys don't think we can do it. Let's go improve it. I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, I think a lot of it is just him. He, as much as, people can see the videos of him dancing and wearing sunglasses and all that, like, he can be intense. And he really, really, takes some things like to heart. And, when he sees, South Carolina isn't being talked about enough or whatever, I think there's part of him that wants to create just excitement, but also tell people like, hey, I actually think we're going to be really good this year, and maybe you should listen to me type thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
He is Jordan Kay. He covers South Carolina for the state newspaper. Jordan, a lot of people like to talk about Shane Beamer and this program under the auspices of his seat heating up over the course of the season. It's certainly easy to look at the schedule and predict where things could go squirrely and get away from him. But I want you to fill in the blank. We've spent some time talking about this over the past week. Shane Beamer's seat cools this season if
Lenore Sellers is as good as we think he is. That's the X factor. I mean, you guys know it, like even just watching Clemson or whatever, like a lot of these games in college football at this level they're going to come down to a couple plays. There's going to come down to one score, and it like really just matters. Do you have a great quarterback or do you have a good quarterback?
Yeah.
And right now, it's like, last year, I think South Carolina had a great quarterback who was playing behind one of the most banged up offensive lines in the country, and so hard to really tell. But man, if the North Sellers is the guy people seem to think he is, and have raved about throughout spring camp he's going to be a 6'4", 6'5", 245-pound quarterback. Like, if that guy is running around and is just creating plays, all of a sudden you're looking at some of these one-score games flipping in the other direction for South Carolina, and maybe that results in, hey, they beat Kentucky and they beat maybe Texas A&M and Missouri, and all of a sudden some fans that think they're only winning 4 or 5 games, maybe that's like 7 or 8, and that's like I don't know, that could be the big X factor. Is like, if Will Sellers is that dude, some of these one-score games are going to go in their favor, and they're going to start winning games that they're not favored in.
We've talked a lot, Jordan, about what Shane Beamer said. What did you take away from the players that he brought and what they said this past week?
I mean, they didn't say a whole lot. He didn't bring Sellers, which was expected because technically we still have to say that this is a quarterback battle, that him and the Auburn transfer, Robbie Ashford, have to compete in fall camp. And so if you bring Sellers, can't really say that anymore. So it made sense why he didn't bring him. And, it's a little media thing. It doesn't really matter a whole lot in the grand scheme of the season. I thought the interesting part, they've got a linebacker, Dabo Williams, who was kind of like on the, riding the Beamer train and saying this is going to be, just the most dominant defense. And, I'm not hungry. I'm starving for success. And he was throwing up some quotes in there where, hey, we're going to be really good. And just kind of predicting it. One of those other things where if the season goes really well, you grab those quotes and you say, this guy's Notre Dame. He figured it out. He had it before everyone else. And then the season goes poorly. It's, the Clemson fans are digging it up and going, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And so, yeah, it was interesting. I would think, when guys go out on a limb like that, especially in the social media age, they have to be pretty dang confident about what's coming out of their mouth.
Somebody who just exudes confidence, maybe to the point of a little bit of craziness, Sean Elliott, who's made his way back to Columbia. Have you experienced any of those tried and true Sean Elliott moments since he's been back in Columbia, or has he kept things pretty calm?
Oh, my gosh. They give them, for these spring practices, like the early drills that guys go through, and they'll usually give like a GA, basically what looks like I don't know, like a plastic, like pillowy type like thing to put on your arm, almost like you would if you're like trying to get an eagle to land on your arm. That's all, padded and foam. And I mean, Sean Elliott will put this thing on during like spring, it's like 8 in the morning. He's yelling at people. He's punching these guys as hard as possible, trying to knock the ball out. And it looks like he is in just absolute heaven, trying to beat the crap out of these guys. And he's like punching the ball and stuff. But I mean, he is like jumping on them, getting on their arms and making it like literally about to tackle us. Like, you would think this is, Saturday night in October, and Sean Elliott's on the other team, but he's going at these guys. And so, yeah, I hadn't experienced it because I wasn't around the first time, but yeah, you're feeling it. Even at like some of these high school kids, so, just the intensity he brings with, these kids are probably like 15 or 16 years old, and you just see they're screaming and, being just super intense, and I'm just like, this is hilarious to watch from the outside. But I can see why players love him and want to play for him because, yeah, it's, the guy cares.
Jordan Kay joining us on Wire to Wire right here on the Fan Upstate. Jordan is with the state newspaper. Jordan, I know you talked to a few other coaches, Brent Venables, and I'm sure that there were some great quotes from him, but do you have anything outside of Shane Beamer that's really caught your eye or caught your ear, if you will, from this past week as well?
I thought some of the Venable stuff was interesting. Like he clearly keeps up with South Carolina and Clemson a ton still. He was, rattling off like South Carolina like yards per game and points per game and stuff. He was telling me about, oh yeah, there's great things to do in Columbia and blah blah blah, and the Capitals there and all this stuff. And he was very odd, like for a guy who's running one of the biggest football programs in America. He still keeps up with the state, still keeps up with Clemson, still keeps up with South Carolina more than I would have imagined. So that part I thought was pretty interesting. And then, the one big thing out here is hearing every coach have to talk about playing Texas and Oklahoma, given that, their immediate contingents are out here. So I think, every coach has answered some sort of question about playing Texas and Oklahoma and whatever that means. But very few good answers have been given.
Jordan, outside of sitting in ballrooms, taste testing Dr. Pepper, what has your off hours been like the past? I know you've only spent 2 or 3 days out there. Do you have any off hours, or has it just been 48 straight hours of content production?
No. Sunday, I got in Sunday. I walked around Daily Plaza, which is always cool.
Yeah.
I love just going there every couple of years and just look around, and it's just kind of surreal and crazy. Did that? Went to the All-Star game last night in Dallas. That was being played. So, grabbed some cheap tickets online and went to that. That was really cool. And then, had some good barbecue the other
Yes.
night. Went to the Pecan Lounge.
Oh, man.
Tried some Terry Blacks. There's a lot of good barbecue in this place. So
Terry Black's
doing a little test.
Jordan.
Terry Black's is good.
Terry Black's is I lived there for a year and a half, just a few years ago. Terry Black's is my all-time favorite.
Really? Okay. I thought Pecan Lounge was very lodgy. A little better, but that's fair. That's fair. I like the barbecue places in one location. So it's like, we got two or three Terry Blacks. I'm like, they're chaining. They're franchising out now.
We talked about it earlier, and I know I've seen a few comments here and there from Greg Sankey, but what have you noticed from the conversation about other conferences, lawsuits, people trying to get answers from Greg Sankey about this team or that team possibly joining the SEC? Has he spoken much on that?
Yeah, he seems to be kind of putting the stop sign on all those conversations. I mean, anytime someone's asked about it, he has almost gone out of his way to say, 16 is our sweet number, and we have 16 and we plan to stay at 16. And it's kind of like, he's saying a little message to Clemson and Florida State, like, hey, you can, do all the lawsuits you want, but don't expect to have a home here. And that's kind of what sounded to me, that we're not going to take you, we don't want you, and if you're doing all this litigation and lawsuits to get to the Big 10 or Big 12, they're expecting the decision right when these lawyers have something. So I talked to the subject matter president, who was reading it a couple months ago, and asked him a question of hey, there's serious the charges to get out of the ACC. Yes, they would want in the SEC. Never in the conversation come up. It would never come up, and if it did, or did you tell Greg Sankey, he did not want. We do not want Clemson in the SEC. He was like, that conversation has never come up. And we not talking about realignment since Texas and Oklahoma. And so it was just interesting. He kind of put the kibosh to that. I would imagine, I don't think A&M wanted Texas and OU in. I would have a feeling that Florida did not want, Florida State in the SEC, and South Carolina would put up a fight to keep Clemson out of the SEC if it ever came to that.
Jordan Kay covers South Carolina for the state newspaper. Jordan, can you give me what are your personal benchmarks for gauging Lenora Sellers in 2024? Can you give me one sort of more tangible, like a number, a measurable, and one intangible that you say if he can really nail these two things, I think South Carolina's got a good one.
I think he needs to start 10 games. And the only reason I say that is because, like, he's going to be 6'6", 240 pounds, but he's going to run a lot. And it's just like you're holding your breath sometimes with these SEC defenders. Like, if you're Lenora Sellers is running at people, there is a lot of injury potential there. And that's the thing that kind of scares me with him is, like, he's kind of playing with fire if he's running a lot. I think if he starts with, like, 9, 10 games, like, I think that's probably the baseline I'm looking at. The other thing I would think is interception. Like, Shane Beamer didn't really talk a lot about this wide receiver group. I don't think South Carolina is super high on the dudes they have at wide receiver. Nick Harper is the best option, and he has 12 collegiate catches. So that tells me Lenora Sellers might be throwing into some traffic a lot. And this is a guy who, what we saw of him in the spring and in the spring game, he's made really good decisions so far. The spring game part, they had a vanilla offense. It was a spring game after all, but he wasn't thrown into anything. I mean, if nothing was open, he was doing a dump pass to the running back or running in the flats for to get out of bounds. So he's playing really smart. And so I think the tangible thing too is like 8 to 10 interceptions. Like if he can stay below that, if he's throwing one or fewer a game, you're saying, okay, this kid gets it. He understands how to play the position. He's not going to force things, and that's the big thing. So I think the two things are him not forcing these freshman turnovers if his receivers aren't up to that standard, and then just not getting himself killed is probably the other thing I'm looking for.
No, I think you're 100% right. I think it was the spring game in the post game interview when someone asked Beamer about the wide receiver room and who had stepped up. I think it was there where he kind of like hesitated and really didn't answer. And I think you're exactly right on that. So it'll be interesting to follow. Hey, Jordan, we appreciate you hopping on, man. Great stuff as we continue to get closer to the season. Hope we can have you on again real soon.
Definitely. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Absolutely. That's Jordan Kay of the state newspaper. It's funny. We talked about Clemson earlier with their safest concerns at position groups, and I think it was – that's the only other time I've interviewed Beamer lately was the spring game, and I think it was the spring game where he just basically gave very to little no hope on who's emerged. I think that's what the question was. Somebody asked, who's emerged in the receiver room? And it was just a very it's early, and I think that's where they are. I think South Carolina's in trouble at receiver. I really do.
Yeah, well, good news is you got a lot of parity at wide receiver, and that defenses can't really hone in on one guy when everybody is equally as mediocre, I guess is one way of looking at it.
Spin it positive. Yeah. Spin it positive there, Shane.
Yeah. I mean, we know last year that Bryce Young, the only person he had to throw to was Adam Thielen, and so all defenses had to do was stop Adam Thielen. Guess what? You don't really have that. So they say maybe you got a little mystery when you come to throwing the ball at South Carolina.
Keep them guessing.
I mean, you could call it a mystery. You could call it a crapshoot, whatever you want to call it at this point. Still some time, though, to iron things out in Columbia before the season gets started. Got to give you our fourth and final clue here for your chance to win a $25 gift card to Ingles Markets. If you think you know the name of this product, you can swing on by here. We are at Ingles Markets in Easley on Pelzer Highway. Clue number 1, you buy one container and you get a bunch of them. Clue number 2, there are many varieties, flavors, and forms of this product. Clue number 3, you can only get them open if you're strong enough. And clue number 4, some people like to drink the juice.
See, I think clue 3 gave it away.
You think so?
Yeah.
That was the one? Okay,
Yeah.
Well, hey, we haven't had anybody text in yet with the correct answer. A couple of text people guessing. Nobody's got it right so far. You can come on by here and drop your name in the box, and you can win a $25 Ingles gift card if you know what product it is we're talking about. When we come back, Cole, we've talked a lot of college football today. But believe it or not, there is an NFL season on the way as well. And one of our guests, Julian Council, predicted the possibility of the Carolina Panthers tripling their win total from 2 to 6 this year. If they're going to get 6, Cole, where are they coming from? We'll talk Panthers next on the Fan Upstate. just a couple of weeks away from the Carolina Panthers being back at it, not including preseason, Cole. We're not giving them preseason to help get 6 wins. No. Regular season games are all we get to choose. If the Carolina Panthers are going to get the proposed 6 wins that we have hopefully laid out for them on this for this 2024 season, where are they going to get those 6 wins? That's the question we want to answer. Well, it is Prime Day. Do you think they can buy wins on Amazon for half price?
Is today Prime Day?
Yeah, well, it's day 2 of Prime
I
Day.
didn't know that.
God, my wife bought so much stuff already, and
Shows
I
you
hope
how
she's not
much I know.
listening. But she admitted already. She texted me a while ago. She goes, I'm done. I'm done buying stuff on Prime.
Famous last words.
Yeah, I know. I'll believe it when I see the packages stop showing up. The problem is they never stop showing up. She loves shopping on Amazon. Look, Ruby's like, you shouldn't be talking about this on the radio. She's like, is that what you've been doing all show over there shopping on Amazon for Prime Day? But the Carolina Panthers, Cole, have 17 chances to get 6 wins. That's all they have to achieve. And I think Carolina Panthers would be fans would be thrilled with increasing from 2 to 6 wins, because a proprietary stat that I put together is after a team bottoms out, worst team in the league, worst record in the league, on average, 3 years later, they increase their win total by 6. I mean, it stands to make sense, right? You're bad. You get great draft picks. You hopefully have some money. Unfortunately, that's not the situation the Carolina Panthers find themselves in. They've traded off all their draft picks, and they have no money. Yet they still suck.
How many years is that?
3 years. The average team 3 years after they are the worst team in the league increase their win total by 6. For some of them, they were 0-16, 0-17 teams. Some cases, they were 2-win teams or 3-win teams. But hey, think about that. If you were a 3-win team, your worst team in the league, on average, 3 years later, you're going to have 9 wins.
Well, Carolina won 2 last year, so
that means 3 years from now, 2 years from now, not including this year,
2026,
they should have 8 wins.
Well, they should. They should. Yeah,
and 8 wins without going back and looking to see the NFC South playoff picture last year. 8 wins probably would have had you relatively close, right, to being in that playoff picture and earning that spot.
Yeah, and the division's getting better, but 8 wins, even as bad as Carolina was, 8 wins should be a minimum in the NFL, right? Like,
should be.
My team gets told they're going to where when they win 8 games. 8-8.
Yeah, I know. I know, but hey, for a franchise that's never made the playoffs or never won, had winning seasons in back-to-back years, just getting back to 8, just getting back to middle of the road, Cole, it's
a good step.
It's a good step, right? It's where you want to be. So the Carolina Panthers have some work to do to get there. They're going to have to get real creative with their salary cap over the next couple of years. If they want to increase from that 2 to 8, that would be by year 2027.
Yeah.
Getting to 8 wins.
So last year, the Bucks, God, this is bad. The Bucks and the Saints last year were 9-8.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons 7-10, and the Panthers a glorious 2-15. The NFC South was simply atrocious. There's no other way around it. It's a terrible division, and winning 8 games, you're right there. You're not going to get a wild card, but you're right there in the hunt.
Good news is, Cole, the Carolina Panthers a couple of years from now will have some cap space available to them. As of right now, they are third to last in the league with cap space of only $6 million. Compare that to the Patriots, who have the most cap space, $43 million. Now, contracts are already set, so that's why it seems like a small amount of money. When you bounce up to 2025, the Carolina Panthers increase to bottom third without kind of counting and seeing where they are against the cap space. They're still in the bottom third, but they're moving up the list a little bit for 2025. 2026, how much money are they going to have? Well, now they're in the top third. They're going to be big. $141 million compared to the Broncos with $188. That puts them somewhere in the range of, again, without counting here, going down the line, 9th, 10th, something like that in the league in the NFL. 2027, they fall back just a little bit, but still in the top half. So they're going to have some money available to them. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but going forward, they're going to have some money available to them so that as the future Brandon Ayuk, not Brandon Ayuk, because he's going to be snatched up, but as those players in the future become available, the Carolina Panthers might be able to go out and spend some money on them and get better by actually buying players.
Here's a fascinating way to look at it. And if there are any Panthers fans that are listening, I'd like to know which way you'd lean here, because there's two ways that I like looking at this detail. Number one, the Carolina Panthers, in their situation they are now, they continue to build the team, right? They continue to build linemen. They continue to get talent at receiver. They continue to structure the defense the way it needs to be to get back to a championship defense. And then after you structure the team, 3 to 5 years from now, maybe Bryce isn't the guy. You should have a good enough team that where you can go get a free agent quarterback, plug them in, AI Kirk Cousins, right? I'm not saying I'm not saying he needs to be the guy. I'm just saying somebody like a Kirk Cousins where you can plug him in and you have a formidable team around him to win. Or you take the approach of we've got to get quarterback right first. And I think that this conversation, I think those two strategies are something that NFL GMs struggle with on a yearly basis. Is, do we put all our chips in on a quarterback? Do we put everything we can on Bryce Young? Or do we just focus on building a really solid football team, really good defensive line like, we used to have in Carolina? Or do you say, hey, we've got to focus? I think you can get good quarterbacks in free agency. I really do. I don't overpay for a rookie that is 4 foot tall and can't see over the offensive line. I'm not signing Bryce to a deal. I'm going to build a really good team around him, a really strong defense, some consistent coaches, and then, you know what? If Bryce doesn't cut it, I can go get a free agent quarterback that can get me to the playoffs.
Well, there's enough mobile quarterbacks, A, coming out of college, B, in the league already, that hopefully by then you find a guy who plays like Bryce Young, just bigger and better. And then, of course, then you get an immediate upgrade at that position. So, Cole, looking at some of the websites where you can find NFL power rankings going into the 2024 season, they are not high on the Carolina Panthers. Shocker, right? The Carolina Panthers, I'm on Sharp Football Analytics, 32nd in the league, dead last in the league, projected as power rankings in 2024. Now, I do think the Carolina Panthers got better at receiver. Xavier Legette, I think, will be very helpful to the Carolina Panthers this year. I think they're going to be better. They're not going to be great. They're not going to be world beaters, right? They're not going to be beating the top half of the league very often. Maybe they get crazy lucky somewhere. But our charge is to find 6 wins on this schedule. 6 wins on the schedule. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to get more than halfway there, Cole, by the halfway point of the season, because it plays out very well in their favor basically through the month of October. I think they're going to finish the month of October with 4 of those wins. So
That'd be incredible if they could finish October.
Well, the problem is you get into November, December, and early January. That's when things start to get tough.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you start playing the better half of your schedule. So let's quickly go down these win-loss coin flip game. Panthers at the Saints on September 8th. Loss.
Yeah, I don't see them winning that one.
Okay. Chargers at the Panthers on the 15th. Loss.
I think that's a game they could rally the fan base if they can control time of possession, get Jonathan Brooks involved. If he's back by then, I don't see it happening. I'm just saying it would be massive. I don't think they win it either.
Okay, I want you to keep a note of who you have winning these games, which games you see the Panthers winning, because I've got mine marked down.
Okay.
On September 22nd, the Carolina Panthers at the Raiders, who stink. I'm going the Carolina Panthers win on the road at the Raiders on September 22nd.
Yeah, unfortunately, that'll be the first one of the season, but I like that as well. I'll go win there.
The Raiders are pretty bad. They're in the bottom third of this league as well. I think the Carolina Panthers could get that one done. They're not beating the Bengals on September 29th. They're probably not beating the Bears on October 6th, not at their house. If that game was being played in Charlotte, maybe I'd be a little higher on them, but I'm not. I'm not high on them beating the Bears there. That would be week number 5. So I got them losing that game. October 13th, the Falcons come to town. Maybe there's still some discombobulation with the Falcons. I think the Carolina Panthers get that one done.
So if we're looking for 6 wins so far through the month of October, here's what I have. Just through October, I have the Saints a loss. I have the Chargers a loss. I have them 0-2. I do have them beating the Raiders on September 22nd. So I have the Carolina Panthers at 2-1. Then I have them dropping 2 in a row.
You have them at 1-2.
I'm sorry, 1-2. You're right. 1-2, dropping 2 in a row, going to 1-4.
We're in agreement up to that point.
Okay. And then when we get into the middle of October, Falcons loss, Commanders loss, Broncos win. So I have them at 2 wins through the end of October. 2
wow.
wins.
See, this is where you and I differ. I think with the Falcons coming to town, they win that one. Commanders stink. Broncos stink. Oddly enough, Cole, I don't know if we're allowed to even say this on these airwaves and give these people hope, but I think the Carolina Panthers rattle off 3 in a row.
Ooh.
They beat the Falcons. They win on the road at the Commanders. They win on the road at the Broncos. I think that's where their 4 first half of the season wins come from.
I'll tell you what, here's the deal. When you're a team like Carolina, the where I would push back is you've got to put 3 consistent weeks together of elite football. You're beating Dan Quinn and one of the better coaches in the NFL when it comes to the defensive mind.
But by that point, you've got 6 weeks of Dave Canales, quarterback whisperer.
Yeah,
getting this team back on track, getting Bryce Young back on track.
I hope you're right. I fear that there's going to be some learning curves with Dave Canales, and that was you went all the way through what date?
I went through that. To me, has me through October 27th. So now we're going up into the month of November.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's see, Saints at the Panthers on November 3rd. I got that one tallied as a loss.
I did too.
Okay,
I did too.
How about Giants at the Panthers? The Giants are another team in a lot of flux. They got some skill guys, yeah, but Daniel Jones is still probably not that dude.
I'll give him a win there.
You're giving them a win.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
going
Panthers
win.
I got them winning that game as well. Then to me, it gets tough. You got the Chiefs coming to town, not a chance. The Buccaneers, I think there's enough residual quality left in Baker Mayfield that I think the Buccaneers are probably going to get them. I actually have the Panthers losing both of their games against the Buccaneers this season.
I have them splitting with the Bucs.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have them winning the game in Charlotte, losing on the road in Tampa.
That's right.
I've got them, of course, losing to the Eagles, losing to the Cowboys. Are you going to that game?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Excellent.
2 years in a row that the Cowboys will be in Carolina.
Sadly, I don't get a chance to get up and make these games as we do the pregame show live in Greenville.
Yeah.
And then trying to get all the way up there. I kind of get there by halftime.
That'd be tough.
I don't really have the chance. Then the Cardinals come to town. The Cardinals are a team that perpetually struggles. They're perpetually in the bottom half, and it's because they won't do anything about Kyler Murray.
They're terrible.
Yeah,
they're terrible, and I think that'll be a tough game to watch. I do go with them getting a win there on December 22nd.
I don't see the Panthers getting a win on the road in the second to last week against the Buccaneers. That's a loss for me. And then the Panthers on the road at the Falcons, January 5th. It feels weird to have regular season games into the month of January, but they will lose that game. So
yeah,
I have them splitting with the Falcons, but getting beat both games against the Buccaneers.
Well, your original question was, how do they get to 6? Bad news is, on mine, they do not.
Okay.
They're 1 short. I have them at 5-12. I can't.
You don't
find
see any
6.
other game on there that they win.
No, if I have to find one that they could win, I tell you, I do think they could beat the Bucs twice. I do. Dave Canales might have the upper hand there. He might have an advantage there. How many wins is that for you? 6?
I've got 6.
Yeah. So the only other game that maybe they could. I could see. I don't see them beating Atlanta. I could see them beating the Commanders if Washington just falls apart. What scares me about Washington is, man, they have so much talent at defensive line. So many Alabama boys. Their defense is star-studded, and Dan Quinn and maybe Jaden Daniels. I'm high on them, and I hate to say that because they're in my team's division. So if I have to find 6, I'd say they beat Tampa Bay twice. However, realistically, I think they're stuck at 5, which is, if I'm right,
still an improvement.
Still 3 game,
It's still a 3-game improvement.
Yeah.
you tripled your wins almost.
Yeah, almost.
Let's see here. We got Texter who says Panthers go 1-16 next year. Ouch.
Ugh.
And then 4-13, and then 7-10.
They're going to win more than one. I mean,
If they only win one game, I think the Panthers fan base just riots, and they continue to sell off their PSLs. And Dave, the ownership there just says, you know what, I'm done.
There's just
I'm
no
selling.
way they win one game. I mean, there's listen, at the end of the day, they had a lot of games last year that they lost in close margins.
Yeah.
They'll win more than one. If they win one,
they should change their team name to the Panthetics.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. There's just no way. No way. Madcraft says, yeah, right, Cole, go Bolts. I said Chargers. I said the Chargers would win that game. I didn't pick the Panthers. However,
I think you've met
though,
your match of blind loyalty to your team.
You think
you
so?
and Matt Kraft, yeah.
Matt Kraft, look, hear me out. If Carolina can get through that New Orleans game without Bryce Young getting like broken into, I do think that you heavily rely on the run game, an improved run game this year, an improved offensive line, a head coach who has offensive experience, play calling is his strength. I don't think that the Panthers are going to be as bad as people think. I know I have them at 5 wins. I'd love to see them get 6 or 7. I do think there will be a lot of close games again this year, though. I think the Panthers will be in a lot of close games. And sadly, you know, what Jordan K tell us about South Carolina? You've got to have great players, not good players, to be the difference in those close games, right? And maybe Bryce Young's in the second year is that great player, but they've got to figure out something that can be their DNA difference maker. What can get them over the hump? And those, is it Jonathan Brooks from Texas? Maybe so. That'd be awesome if he was like a little hidden gem for the Panthers, but they've got to have something that gets them over that hump in the close games.
Looking at the 2023 schedule, Cole, they fell victim to several close games. Week 1, they lost by 6 to the Buccaneers. They lost by 2 to the Giants. The Jets beat the tar out of them. Excuse me, those were preseason games. I apologize. Let's see here. It's hard to, okay, so they lost by 3 on September 18th
Opening day,
to
right?
the Saints. Let's see, they lost, touchdown loss to the Vikings, curb stomped by the Lions, curb stomped by the Dolphins.
I was at that Vikings game. It was close all the way to the fourth quarter.
They won that close game against the Texans. Let's see, 3-point loss at the Bears last year. Your Cowboys beat the crap out of them.
But, you know, that Monday, I went to a Monday night football game up there last year, and I think it was against the Saints. It was a close game.
Yeah.
So there were
a handful of games where they were in it with a chance to win. The problem is there seemed to be like a wall in front of the end zone. Once they scored their one touchdown of the game, they weren't getting another one. So you had to rely on the defense basically to hold the other team to 13 points or less if you wanted to stand a chance to win.
Here's what I'll say. The last thing, I know we got to get hit a break. If best case scenario, if Dave Canales can do the Dave Canales magic, get the running game back to where it needs to be, improved offensive line. I love Jonathan Brooks out of Texas. I'd love to see him break on the scene. If they get Leggett involved and keep him involved, maybe, just maybe, they're more efficient than they were last year. Maybe, just maybe, they have the game-breaking guys now. That's what they haven't had. They haven't had a consistent run game. Their defense hasn't been – their defense wasn't terrible last year. The offense just gave them no help. And I think their defense will be better this year. They've got to be able to win those interior battles. And like you said, when they get in the red zone, they've got to find a way to get past that wall that you were talking about and close the deal. But in order to do that, back to my point, you've got to have dudes. They didn't have the dudes. Adam Thielen's not that guy. Maybe Xavier Leggett can be that guy that can go and stretch the field a little bit.
Yeah, they need roles to reverse there. They need Xavier Leggett to be the guy so that Adam Thielen can sneak under the radar. and catch those inside passes.
Kevin in Fairplay says Carolina ain't beating Atlanta. Kirk's getting hurt the first game. The whole league's going to get hit with a Penix. And I'm not reading the next. Okay, I'll read it. The whole league's going to get hit with a Penix in their mouth, says Kevin in Fairplay. Kevin. You went there, Kevin.
Kevin.
You,
Kevin. Dirty boy.
Final segment of the show next.
it and rip it, baby. Yeah.
You're going wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Wrapping up the Wednesday edition of Wire to Wire as we are live at Ingles just for a few more minutes. 410 Pelzer Highway in Easley. We appreciate Melissa, Ruby, everyone from Ingles for making it a fantastic trip as always. Also, Shane. Diesel, you're going home with some, what are those, is that turkey sandwiches?
There's some are turkey, some are roast beef, some look like ham. Man, I got lunch for the next week and a half.
You do, and your dog.
Yeah.
You know, I'll eat any of those three, but roast beef's the superior lunch meat. Roast beef's just the absolute best, man. I had roast beef today for lunch.
Well,
Why you make
of
that
those
face? You don't
three,
like roast
no,
beef?
I do like roast beef, but like a good Cajun turkey, that's the way to go, dude. Like sliced thick.
Oh, that thick
Yeah.
with two C's.
Yeah.
The THICC.
You got a thick two of that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Tomorrow is the Thursday edition, and then listen, Friday we'll have Shane Connick, but then programming note next week, Monday, we will be at ACC Media Days in Charlotte. Tuesday, are we back in studio Tuesday?
Yes, we are.
Unless we just forget to
come home.
I say we just don't tell our bosses and go up there. And we're going to have here's what we do. And if they're listening, it's okay. They'll forgive us. Monday, we'll already have the truck. We'll already have the equipment. Let's just say screw it. And let's just go up there Tuesday. And when we get fussed at, we'll say, oh, it was a scheduling mistake. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. They might have shrimp cocktail or something really good on Tuesday. And we're going to be up here in Greenville. We might have to just
eating deli sandwiches.
You know, I say ask for forgiveness sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, we really got
credentials going to be good no matter what.
Yeah. So what's stopping us from going on Tuesday? Unless our boss is listening and texts us and cusses me out, which could happen. And then we're there on Wednesday.
You know, like if you get the text from promotion saying, "Hey, where's the truck?" I'll be like, "Sorry, man, I'm in Gaffney. I can't bring the truck back today." Can't happen. You guys got to figure it out without me.
Hey, by the way, quick programming note for a little local taste. Diesel and I did receive some of the players and coaches we'll have on next week at Media Days. Grayson Loftus, quarterback, Duke, Wednesday, 3:30, right here on the Fan. You know what's crazy? I had Grayson as a junior in high school on the Saturday Scramble. He was a really good quarterback at Gaffney and goes to Duke, and now here we are at ACC Media Days next week getting to interview Grayson again. Yeah. Except this time he's obviously at Duke. Really cool.
Smart kid.
He's going
to make way more money than us.
You got to be good
in his lifetime,
Duke, right?
Yeah.
With a Duke degree, you just show up. You know, you after you get your diploma, you just post a picture of it, and you've got a million jobs waiting on you. But
I saw on the news this morning that the average person comes out of college now with $39,000 in debt.
I think it'd be more than that.
$40K. It's like, hey, here's your diploma and a $40,000.
Oh, I can attest to that. I can attest to that. I was in bed with Sally Mae pretty good. You know what I mean?
You mean a Ponzi scheme?
Well, that too. That's what college is, right?
Thanks for listening, Tolos. We'll be back tomorrow for show number 81 here on the Fan Upstate.
Unfiltered